Hello and welcome to episode 89 of In PS We Trust, a PlayStation podcast. My name's Davey and joined with me, as always, is the fine wine himself, Mr. Philip Hoy.
We're back, baby. Yes, we're back in the house.
2 weeks, or actually 4 weeks. 4 whole weeks since we've been together, and Spencer Davis coming in, the finale, the point to our triangle, the person that guides us in the right direction. Isn't that right, Spence?
I'm not sure if that is exactly my role on this show. If anything, it might be the opposite. But sure, we'll go with that.
Well, Spence, it was your birthday just on Saturday, 4/20. So how old does that make you now these days, my friend? Hitting 13 yet?
13 yet? Oh, wow. No, you guys don't remember what it's like to be 13, do you?
No, mate.
Again, I am now. Double it, mate. Double it. 26 now.
26. Wow, he's getting up
Yeah.
there. Oh, I can see you can grow a mustache these days. Got any pubes yet?
No, waiting, mate. Waiting soon. Big
Wait,
27.
It will come through. I believe. But listeners, we have been on an extended break. Thank you ever so much for bearing with us. 2 weeks ago, we sat down to record, and the guys were ill. There was sickness running rampant. So we've all recovered. We're all back to our full strength. And we are now here to guide you through episode 89, which will be another absolute juicer of an episode that we have in store for you. Of course, we're going to go down the normal run of the show in terms of answering a question, which is normally a hypothetical that we pose to each other. But today we've got one from the audience. We're then going to move it into what we've been playing because it's been a month. So I'm hoping that you guys have actually been playing some games in that time. Then we'll move it into quick news, a rumor, another couple of questions, or another question, I should say. And then we end with the part 2 of our bracket that we've been doing, redoing PlayStation's, or Sony's, I think it was, bracket that they put together with the best game on PlayStation 5. So we shall put that all to the test later on. But first, guys, we got ourselves a little question. And who has written in? It's the Hollywood hot dog himself, Lurian, has written in. And he says, guys, pick 2 characters from different PlayStation IP who would work well together in an escape room, and 2 who would not get along. Now, Lurian's given us an example here to help us on this, okay? He says, i.e., Nathan Drake and Aloy would be great at escape rooms. He is smart with puzzles. She scans things. Very true. Versus Joel and Deacon would butt heads. And Joel is meant Joel from The Last of Us, and Deacon is meant from that motorbike game that goes on for way too long, that I can't even remember what it's called.
Days Gone.
Days Gone. God damn, that I did lose days to that fucking game. It was good, so I got the platinum, but Jesus Christ, it was a long old slog. So, guys, what are your thoughts? Spence, we always start with youngest here, so why don't you give me your 2 who would work well together, and we'll go around in a cycle.
Okay. Well, it's such an open question, this, isn't it? I'm
Yeah.
trying to think of who actually would be good. And I'm thinking, I'll go with, for one, and this might be a surprising one, because Lurian has prefaced this with Aloy would be able to scan stuff. So you're assuming they have their gear, right?
Yeah, I'd say so, yeah.
So I'm going to say my first character, Celine from Returnal, who we know she is. I mean, the laws, God knows. We don't actually know exactly what she is. But she's smart. I think she's an astronaut. I think. So she's very clever. And she can scan things. So that's just Aloy, but a bit of a one-up as well.
Yeah,
A bit of
okay.
extra intelligence. And then the other character, I want to say Ratchet, but I don't know why. Or maybe Clank. Clank would be able to just hop on her back and just help her throughout it, like he helps Ratchet.
Bro, can you imagine the movement tech in Returnal if you had, like, Clank on the back doing his, like, you know...
Oh,
like,
you could hover.
yeah, you could just, like, glide over stuff. So you do the sword cancel tech, fly up, and then you just hover down. Bro.
That'd be sick.
Busted. Absolutely busted. No, I think that's a great shout, to be fair. I could see them working. And Celine's one of those people that she's pretty independent, and Clank generally, for the most part, is just along for the ride. So I don't think they're going to, they're not going to bash heads too much. I think he'd be like quite logical about it. And then Celine, it does get a bit emotional, but Clank's that level-headed, isn't he? He's a good sidekick character. I reckon he'd be able to steer all right. It's a great fucking answer, that one. Any thoughts on that one, Phil, before we come across to yourself?
He might have stolen my answer slightly. So I might have picked Clank. But I'll give you my reasons for picking Clank in a minute, because they are slightly different to Spencer.
Let's cut the mystery and let's just get straight to it then. So what's your combo?
Okay, so my combo, my duo that's going to be going into the escape room. So first, we need someone to basically carry Clank around. So I was thinking we need a nice strong character, someone who's strong-minded, someone that doesn't, back down from a situation and keeps moving forward. So I want to do a bit of a throwback. I want to go back to Nathan Hale. Okay, from Resistance as my main character within this escape room, okay? Because he just keeps on going, no matter what you throw at him, and he'll find a way through it. Okay, unfortunately, and here's a spoiler for the people that haven't played Resistance, he succumbs to a Chimeran virus by the end of the game, but he goes out with a bang, so he's willing to sacrifice everything for the cause. So that's my main character within the escape room. I'm going with Nathan Hale. And to back him up, Spence, you've already picked him. It's Clank. So he was a robot designed a little bit different, wasn't he? He was designed for war, but he actually pivoted slightly and his intellectual personality came through. And he's absolutely hilarious. We've got Nathan Hale, very straight-faced, gunning for it, going hard in the paint. And then we've got Clank. He's a little bit of comic relief when you're in the escape room, because I've been to a couple of escape rooms and they get a little bit stressful. You need someone to go, ha ha ha, look, here's a little bit of a joke over here. And that's Clank. He's going to bring you through with a smile. So my duo, Nathan Hale and Clank. I think that's allowed for me to pick Clank as well, right?
I don't see why not. I mean, the thing about it is there's only so many PlayStation IP characters that you could go for. And Clank's a great sidekick character. I think you both absolutely nailed it, with that. And certainly a better choice than, some of the other sidekick characters that you could go for. Like, who the fuck wants a turtle from Sly Cooper in there, I don't even know that guy's name. I know he's smart, that bloke, right? But, yeah, I don't know. A slow-moving turtle in an escape room is all about speed, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And you need the brains, don't you? Because the sidekick character always tends to be the brainy one, as opposed to the brawn, doesn't he? So if we're looking at God of War, obviously you've got Kratos and Mimir, I suppose, would be his sidekick, wouldn't he? When he's touring about. So he would be the knowledge and Kratos would be the muscle. So that's the duo I've gone for. But Davey, I'm interested where you're going with this one.
Okay, so I was thinking with escape rooms, they're all big puzzles, aren't they? And they're all things that you've got to figure out to be able to get out of. So I thought, right, who's really good at solving like kind of mysteries or getting into situations and finding their way out of it? And generally, with a good bit of style, they're not going to be too aggressive. And I thought, let's get the classic burglar himself. Let's get Sly Cooper in the mix. I was thinking, right, Sly Cooper, and then who's going to work well with him? Well, when I think back and I think of all the characters that work well with thieves, it's got to be Victor goddamn Sullivan. I reckon those two together in the escape room would solve it so fucking fast. Because Sully, sure, he gets outshone by Nath all the time, but he holds his own, man. And he does it with style, and he's fucking class as well. Sitting there smoking a cigar, and he'd be like, Sly, you figure it out, kid. And then he'll just be giving him hints. And Sly would just nail it. So I reckon those two would work so fucking well together.
And you've got to think with Sully, he's been there and done everything, hasn't he? So he probably knows the answer, but he just wants Sly to struggle a little bit, doesn't he? He kind of knows the answer. He's like, you figure it out, as you said. Just you go ahead, and I'll just sit back here with a big cigar. But you are thinking he's in an escape room. It's a closed room, isn't it? So where's that smoke going to go? I think he's only increasing the difficulty here.
I think you never know what kind of escape room you're in for here. And if you want to find out if there's lasers in there.
I knew.
Oh.
Metal Gear, you know straight away. The only way you can see those infrared things by pulling out your pack of fags. He's just thinking ahead. This is another thing that Sully's already gone. He's 4 strokes ahead. He's probably the guy who designed the escape room himself. And he's put himself in there to test his knowledge. Blackout night last night, so he can't remember even designing it. And now he's back in there the next day. That's the kind of guy that Sully is. But I think we've all got some great answers there for our troops that would get along. But when we're talking about characters that don't get along, I think this is where now we can go off a little bit more on this. So Spence, Who are your two characters that you feel wouldn't get on doing an escape room?
Okay, so the first one I think is super easy and obvious because he's going to be absolutely useless. Crash Bandicoot. What is he going to do other than spin around and destroy the whole room? And you can't even like chat to him because he'll just whoa, and that's it. There's nothing else. There is nothing else. So I'm just trying to think of if they were paired with Crash, would get frustrated. And I'm going to base this on how I played the game. So I played it as the villain with Cole McGrath in Infamous. And I think he'd probably end up killing Crash Bandicoot and probably break it out himself, but he wouldn't solve the puzzles, I don't think. He would just kind of force his way out. So ultimately, he would lose the escape room and Crash Bandicoot would just be murdered. Yeah, I don't think they'd get on.
No, I can see Cole being hot-headed. When he's on the evil route, he does not give a shit, does he?
Not at all.
He's so selfish. And yeah, I can see Crash just getting... Well, I mean, the thing about Crash is he's basically invulnerable, right? Because you get electrocuted, stomped on, squished all the time. He just pops back up in the next life. So I think that Crash would just keep going and it would just get Cole even more angry to the point where he just explodes with electricity and bursts his way out the door. And is it a typical, solve? No. But frustration eventually leads to a payoff, right? So I can see it happening.
I don't think that counts as a success. Because if you go to an escape room and you boot down the door, you don't get to be like, yeah, record, baby. That's not how it works, You got to solve the puzzles. So I don't think that would be allowed. But I think either way, it would just not be a fun time for them or the escape room employees.
No, definitely not. And you wouldn't say shit, mind. If Cole McGrath lightninged up the play, I wouldn't say a fucking word. I'd be like, yeah, nice one. Here's your gold medal.
I'd have gone as he walked through the door, lad.
Yeah, with just electricity flowing all over him.
Yeah, I'd be like, yeah, just doors over there. Good luck. Fuck off. I've gone.
Mate, I'd do like a Star Wars Sith quote just on the off chance that I can learn how to wield this power and then just bend down and just be like, I'll serve you, master. In the hopes I can learn these electric powers for myself and then I can rise up and take them for myself. But yeah, we'll leave that for the moment. What about yourself, Phil? How are you feeling about Spence's combo here?
I'm liking it, but I'm seeing some flaws. Let me poke some holes here. So, are we allowing Crash Bandicoot as a PlayStation IP these days?
I would say so, surely, right?
There's the first question.
Are
we letting him get away with that one?
I was going to let it slide because he is originally, Naughty Dog did create him. I know he's not owned by them anymore. It's not a PlayStation guy. It's an Activision, now a Microsoft IP, I suppose, if you want to take it down that line. But I'd allow it for the sake of this.
All right, well, we'll let him get away with that one. But then Cole McGrath, right? I haven't played the Infamous games, but from my understanding, there's a choice in that game, isn't there? Whether you're good or you're bad. So you're very much going off the bad route with Cole. What if he chose good?
Well, that's what I said.
Rooms? What if he chose to actually solve the puzzle and put his mind to it? Use his powers for good.
See, that's the whole point of the thing, isn't it? I said I'm basing this off my experience when I played Infamous, and I very much...
Right.
Well, actually, I'm not... I played the...
You're a bad guy. You went down the bad route, didn't you, Spence?
I actually played the entire game good, but then at the very end, it gives you the choice, and you can just immediately flip to max evil. And at the very end, I just went, yeah, fuck it, I'll blow it up. And then you just get way better powers as well. It pays off to be evil in that game. So I think you go evil, mate.
You just wanted to see the world burn, didn't you?
Yeah. Nice, dude.
Well. Let's see if I can top that, okay? Because I've picked two people out of the PlayStation hat. And I've gone for the obvious, probably the most obvious PlayStation IP. I've gone with old Kratos because he was an angry man back in those days. He wasn't very intelligent. He just walked along and smashed shit up, didn't he? He was angry and that's all he did. He just went along and just caused destruction. He killed a lot of people and showed very little remorse for it throughout those games. So I could see him causing some shit if he was in an enclosed space, not being able to get out because he wouldn't have much logic, would he? I don't remember many puzzles within, many difficult puzzles within that game. Okay, maybe there was some small bits and pieces within that game, but nothing, to the level of an escape room, I wouldn't think. And I'm going to team him up, okay, I'm going to team him up with Sackboy. Now, you might say, yeah, Sackboy, he's quite good at getting through obstacles, isn't he? But that's in Little Big Planet. This guy is useless in the real world, isn't he? Okay, he can pop a few bubbles, but outside that, in the real world, you put him in an escape room, what the fuck's he going to be doing, right? This guy's been useless since 2012, when he had Little Big Planet on the Vita. Up to then, he's done absolutely jack shit. He's just been sat on the couch, phoning it in on PlayStation. So I think he's absolutely useless. And Kratos, he would get into that room, and he would see that little shit, and he'd just want to murder him, wouldn't he? So that's what would happen in the escape room. And if they both have to get out and Kratos has already cut that Sackboy up, then they're both losers, aren't they?
To be fair, I wouldn't blame Kratos either, because Sackboy had literally the worst launch game on PlayStation 5. I still am so bitter about that fucking game. And people were like, I remember when it got brought to what was it, Sackboy Big Adventure, right? I remember when it got brought to PC, and then people were like, PC gamers don't buy games. And it's like, huh? It's just the game shit, so no one bought it. Like, there's no like thing you can read into this. It's like, what did they expect was going to happen when you put it on fucking PC? No one fucking bought it on PlayStation either, man. It's only the end game that game's actually class. Up until then, with the time trials, oh, yeah, I wouldn't blame Kratos at all. I think he's in the right. I think just you have to eviscerate Sackboy. Sackboy is a creature that, you know, Kratos has fought many kind of mythic entities and many, you know, haunting visions of creatures. And if I saw this little, like, 6-inch little Sackboy fucker running around, I'm not letting him get near any orifice. I'm ripping him to shreds. Because I don't want him getting in somewhere he shouldn't get in. And next thing you know, I don't care if you're a god on the outside. I don't know how soft you are on the inside, but I wouldn't want Sackboy to find out. So he's getting ripped seam to seam.
I'll tell you what, I think he'd actually be even more useless than you're thinking. He's only 8 centimeters tall.
Oh, it's fucking pointless.
Well, there we go.
It's literally can't do jack shit. I was thinking of putting Sackboy as well, because honestly, before Big Adventure, he could only move on a 2D plane as well. So awful. And in Sackboy, he doesn't have his special powers of placing stuff anymore as well. But I will defend that game. I think it was mostly only bad because the netcode was diabolically shit. I do think that was its big downfall. But that final trial is still awesome.
You could see where I was going with this, really, guys. I just wanted to see Sackboy murdered.
Yeah.
I just wanted to punch down a little bit more. So any opportunity we get, listeners, viewers, if you send in questions, if there's an opportunity for us to slam dunk on someone, probably going to be Little Big Planet, isn't it? A Media Molecule.
Yeah. You know, we keep it in the home turf. They're a UK-based studio. He's a UK creation, and it ain't our best. You know, nobody's going to sit there and say, oh, the UK home is such greats such as the Beatles and Sackboy. No. He's not going to be anywhere near the fucking top of that list.
That's the first time that sentence has ever been spoken.
And
now it's immortalized on episode 89 of an In Peace We Trust PlayStation podcast. Wow.
Jesus. What an escape room that'd be, mine. Sackboy and the Beatles. I think they'd do it.
Jesus. Yeah, I reckon they'd work together. I reckon they'd work together quite well. Well, for mine, guys, I've gone for... I don't know if you'll allow this, so I've got a backup just in case you don't, right? So the first one I've gone for is a bad guy from Killzone 2. He's called General Radic. Now, if you've played PlayStation All-Stars, he's included in that as well. But General Radic is basically the top space Nazi. Suffers no shit. Anybody who gets in his way gets eviscerated. He's got a cool-ass stylish costume. Super cool. But he would not stand incompetence. And then my second choice, if you'll allow it, would be the car from Wipeout. Because what the fuck is that going to do? What's that going to do in the escape room? It'd be fucking pointless. You couldn't even turn around in it because it'd be too big. And then General Radic won't know how to drive it. And I imagine he'll get so annoyed with the fact he doesn't understand a piece of technology that he's never seen before that he'd end up destroying it and in turn destroying pretty much the room he's in. And that would be his way out. But if you don't allow the car, if you think it has to be, that's not as much of a character for you, I got somebody else that is just as incompetent. But I'll see what you guys think about my duo first.
I quite enjoy the car, to be fair. It'll be fast. If the escape room's slightly bigger and it means from getting one side of the room to the other, it's going to be pretty fast. It's probably going to be the fastest, isn't it, on PlayStation to get from A to B if we've got any distance to travel within the escape room. But we're all assuming the escape room's tiny. It might be huge. So in that case, actually, that's a wise choice, isn't it? So who knows? I quite like that one. I'd be willing to accept it, but I am interested where you're going. But I'll let Spencer rebuttal first.
Yeah, all I'm thinking, right, is I understand. Do they drive themselves, or is there someone inside the car driving it?
No, there's somebody inside driving it. It doesn't drive itself, but they do run off like anti-grav stuff in the tracks. So if it's just an escape room, it shouldn't even be able to move properly. It should just be just an object there, and you might be like dragging it along the floor. I don't know. So I imagine it. Colonel Radix like gets in it. He's like starts up. He's like, yes, finally. And then it just does. It's just like fucking just along the floor. It's a fuck's sake.
I want to allow it, but I feel like I can't. If the cars drove themselves, I think I'd allow it because they're the character then. But if there's someone inside the car, you're technically playing as the driver, not the vehicle, aren't you?
Okay. I see your point. I did think about that. So that's why I got a backup. So I'll give you the backup, and then I suppose you can lay down what you think. So my backup would be, of course, General Rannick, who's returning, and then joining him would be somebody who is truly incompetent, and that's Dan Fortescue from Medieval.
Oh,
That
so
guy, oh mate, he's a pretend hero, and he comes back, and sure he goes on a quest to become a hero, but his voice alone would drive General Raddick wild. His voice, if you haven't heard his voice for a while, Jesus Christ, he sounds like Mr. Bean, bro. General Raddick would suffer none of it, and his skull would be kicked straight off his bony head. And sure, he'd still be fine, right? And he'd just put it back on. But I think it would just drive General Raddick even wilder. And seeing like a little cartoon worm poke out of his skull, bro. I think all that would end up happening would be that General Raddick would try and run an experiment on how he can bring this to the rest of the Helghast so that they have like 1,000-year army. And that would be the only thing that would come out of this. There would be no solving of that escape room. It would be Sir Daniel Fortescue getting carved up and experimented on for the betterment of the Helghast. And that's as much as we get from it.
Are we going for the original Medieval, or are we going to go for the updated graphics on that? Because that might matter slightly. He might be slightly better looking in the newer reimagining of Medieval.
He's horrific in either way, to be honest. He's, if I saw that lumbering towards me in this ungainly run and really long legs and arms, I'd run for the fucking hills, man. And, General Raddick wouldn't run. He'd take it down. And he wouldn't. He
might think, though, he's never seen something like that. He might be like, what the fuck? And shit himself. He might run. He's used to fighting, like, the bad guys in Killzone, or the good guys in Killzone, I suppose. But an eternal, immortal skeleton, I think he'd shit himself, lad.
He might do. He might do. He'd be wise to be fair, but I think he's too much of a man for that. Like, he'd see it down, pump it full of lead. And so, Daniel Fortescue's just like, oh, God, please don't shoot me. It's like, oh, fuck off.
It's not the impressions round.
It was good, though. It was
really good, really good. Yeah, you'd get my vote at the end of Quick News for that one.
Oh, thank you. But yeah, so that's where I'm going with this. I don't know if you got any thoughts on this final pairing, Phil, before we move it on.
I'm backing Spencer on this one because, like, Daniel Fortescue, let's get the words correctly out of my mouth. Surely the Helghast guy would be quite scared of him. Yeah, I would be. If I was locked in a room with a skeleton that, had armor, and he was walking around with that crazy weird voice, that would freak me out. I wouldn't be able to solve any puzzles or problems because I'd be so worried about what the hell's behind me. That's the most obscure monstrosity that I could imagine to be locked in a room with. Out of all of them, I'd rather be locked in the room with Sackboy because he's just like a little teddy, right? But the guy from Medieval, Jesus Christ, you'd be like, a little bit scared, especially if the lights go off.
If you sat in the corner like, it's not real, it's not real, it's not real, it's not real. I'll wake up, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to wake up. Whilst he's running around just breaking shit. It would not, it'd be awful.
Yeah. Oh well, I really like that. Yeah, that probably is quite right. And to be fair, that's I suppose why they don't get along, right?
Yeah, it's the
Wins
goal.
all round.
You've done
Yeah.
it. You've done it, mate. Yeah, you've made the pair.
Well, I think we've all done pretty well on this. Lurian, I hope you're happy with the answers to your questions. And of course, listeners, if you want to take control of the show, if you want to submit any questions, loads of ways to do it. The easiest way is probably just to reach out to us on Twitter. So at in PS We Trust. All our individual Twitters are, of course, in the description of the show as well. You can write into the email pswetrust@gmail.com. More than welcome to go on there as well. But moving on from that, let's move the show on to what we've been playing.
This time on NPS We Trust, what have the boys been playing?
So guys, it's been 4 weeks since our last podcast episode, and I'm desperate to know what you've been up to in that time. Spence, let's come across to yourself. The last time we left you, you'd been humbled by The Last of Us Part 1, if I remember rightly, where it crushed you down and your trophy progress didn't matter, and so you were faced with the dilemma of do you leave it or do you run it back again? What's happened, mate? What have you been doing these last 4 weeks?
So for the most part, I was just playing Street Fighter or anything else to try and get my mind off of it. But then I thought to myself, I need to do it at some point. And I do love the game. I owe it to myself. So I did go back to it. I have played it through and done the Left Behind. And I do now have the Platinum. The trophies actually tracked.
Ooh,
wow. Congratulations, mate. Well done.
Well done, Spence. Well done. That is some dedication, mine, to go back to it again and just think, fuck it, you know what, see it through. Is it a sense of relief getting it done, or did it feel kind of like quite hollow, like, why did I do this to myself? Why did I do it again?
The sense of relief wasn't when the Platinum hit. It was when I picked up, say, the 68th collectible and the number on the tracker actually changed. Because I was staring at those trackers. Every time I pick something up, I'd check and be like, okay, I need like 3 more. And then it should update. Then as soon as it should update, and it did, I went, oh. And then it was like I was set. I was dedicated. And I was like, okay, I can do it then. I'm going to get the Platinum. And then it was smooth sailing, and I enjoyed the rest of it. It was great. I still adore the game. And it's done. I'll tell you, it was the fastest install you have ever seen. The second the trophy popped, I went, yeah, done, deleted, gone. Because I am not planning to play that now until Last of Us 3. But I am super, super chuffed that it's happened and now it's done. But it does mean the only version I don't have is PS3.
Is it still possible? Haven't the servers been shut down for that?
I think the
Surely
servers
you
are still
can't
up.
get that one anymore, can you? For the PS3 version? Wow, that'd be wild if it is. I suppose while you search that up, so do you know what stopped you getting the trophy in the first place? Have you kind of like come to a realization of what impeded you that you were able to get past this time?
So I've just checked. The servers are shut down. So it is now impossible. So I will not. That's thank God. Good. That's good. Yeah.
Got your excuse.
Jesus. But I think it was just a case of when I first beat the game, I just did a blind playthrough. I mean, Last of Us, I've platinumed it already. I've got most of the collectibles. And then I tried going back through chapter select to clean it up. But I think when you go back through chapter select, it doesn't actually like, when you switch to another chapter, then it remembers where you were before you finished the game rather than before you thing. So even though I was picking up more collectibles, the ones that I'd picked up when I went back hadn't saved. So it was weird. I basically just had to do all of it in one solid run, and that made it track fine. And it worked. Thank fuck. If it didn't work, I would have been raging.
Spence, when this happened to you, all that time back on the previous episode, and you went round Reddit and you went round YouTube and you went round Twitter trying to find the solution to this, did you actually find someone who told you how to overcome these problems? And if you didn't, are you going to now go back and share that knowledge for maybe some of the people that maybe don't listen to our show? I hear there's a few out there.
Well, I mean, if they don't listen to the show, they don't deserve the knowledge. So they either hear it here or they hear it nowhere.
Mate, exactly.
That's the way it's going. if I'm posting anything, I'm going to say, oh, I actually found the fix for this. You can find it here. And pop a link to this episode. And that's how we're going to go about it.
Very smart.
But I did see a post of someone in the Reddit thread saying they deleted everything, played the game in one solid run, and it worked for them. But then for other people, apparently it didn't. So it's kind of it's not a guaranteed fix, but it's just something that worked for someone and worked for me. So the knowledge is out there, but I can't promise anyone that it will work. I think it will. It doesn't make sense for it not to work, because the way the trophies actually work with the tracking, it makes sense for it to work every time. So I don't know what other people have done wrong, but the information's already out there. And if they want to hear it from me, they have to come here to do it.
I like that, Spence. That's a great approach. To be fair, as you said, we're all about punching down. If they don't know, there's one place they can find out. And if they don't listen, screw them. Fuck them, man. I totally agree. Screw them. Right then. So speaking of fountains of knowledge, Phil, you got age on your side. Let's move it over to yourself. What have you been playing these last few weeks?
Well, Davey, I'm glad you asked. And I think you're going to be pretty happy. I think you both are, because I've taken your advice. If you remember back, 4 weeks ago when we recorded last, I asked you for a game suggestion, didn't I? I said, what should I be playing before Stellar Blade comes out? I needed something to tie my time up a little bit. I don't have a lot of gaming time to spend on my PlayStation, but the time I do, I like to invest it in a good game. And you guys said, invest in Stray. Now, this game's been sat on my shelf for a number of years. I think you got it as either a birthday present or a Christmas present. I think you even gave it to me on the show, right?
During one of the big quizzes.
Yeah, like one of the ones close to the end of the year. I think it might have been a Christmas present.
No, I'll tell you exactly what it was. I think it was our first local big quiz. And remember, Phil, you had your balloons behind you because it was on your birthday had just gone.
So it was a birthday present. So it's been sat on my shelf for a number of years probably now. And I wanted to find, as I said, something relatively short. And this game is between sort of 5 and 10 hours, as you guys know. Normal run through, maybe 5. You could probably do it a little bit quicker if you knew where you were going. I think one of the trophies is 2 hours, if I'm correct, in running the game. But if you want to collect everything, probably you'll spend about 10 hours within the game. Now, I have to admit, I had fun with the game, guys. There we go. I had fun. It was a very cute aesthetics. It had compelling story. And it seemed like it had quite a heavy dose of sort of social commentary, I think, with the different levels. And each one he went to, kind of the population got a little bit more negative to what he was trying to achieve. And I think he probably just was better off staying at the bottom with all the nice people. But maybe that's just my take on it. Now, this game, for the people that don't know, it follows a cat, right, who falls into a walled city populated by robots. So it's actually quite, it speaks to me on that sort of level. The robots were cool. I really liked going up to them and interacting with them as a cat. It's kind of strange to think about. And my sort of companion that you pick up was very cute. And maybe I should have chose him for the earlier question that Lurian said, because that interaction between the cat and your sort of buddy was a cute time, and I really enjoyed that. Now, this game got around, I think it was 83 on Metacritic when I did my research earlier. And I'm going to give my rating, guys, because that's what you normally ask for. And I'm going to give this a strong 7 out of 10.
7.
Because I'm glad I played it. I'm glad I spent my time in it. And I did complete it. And I completed it largely on the PlayStation Portal. But it's nothing that's sort of grabbing me in the sense that I want to go back to it, maybe get the platinum, or anything that's making me buy a bunch of cat toys to sit on my shelves behind me. Okay? It's one of those games, right? I was happy I played it, but maybe I'm not buying the t-shirt.
Oh, fair. I mean, when this came out, Spence, you and me were, we had cat fever.
Yeah.
When this came out, we loved it. I think it both got into our Game of the Year discussions in like our top 5s. I think it both got in there quite high, and yeah, we really, really enjoyed the game. I suppose for me, maybe part of it and part of my reason why I love it so much is because I'm a cat owner, and I love cats. And so there was just a lot of it to that. But I found just the emotional story beats just really hit me. And, like the moments with like a lot of the robot characters and especially the ending, man, just fucking broke me. The start and the end of that game are like so emotional. And it really, really hit like a load of strings for me that, if a game connects on an emotional level like that, especially a small short experience, I always give it mad props. And so for me, it really hit like that. But maybe, do you think that's maybe part of the reason why it didn't get you, Phil? You don't have cats or anything like that? Or do you feel it was just something else? Maybe your soul?
My soul's dead. Yeah, that's the answer.
Yeah.
I hate cats. No, I don't hate cats or anything like that. I've never had a cat, so I didn't really have that affinity to the animal. But it wasn't one of those games that, even in the previews and sort of before you guys bought it, that I probably would have bought. I only played it because it was sat on my shelf and you guys highly recommended it. But I'm glad, as I said, I did, but I don't think it's anything that... Yeah, I'm looking forward to like a sequel or anything. I don't think there would be. I don't think it would make sense. I think it's a game that probably just stands on its own, and it's just a really nice experience. You can spend your 5 to 10 hours in it and just have a great time and sort of move on. And I think that's what I'm going to do.
Fair dues. Well, Spence, before we start going into the dark horse of this conversation that you mentioned, have you got any things on Stray you want to ask him?
I'm not sure about ask too much, just because most of the best things are those story beats, and I wouldn't want to spoil them for any listeners. I will say I think 7 is a valid rating for it, because I did love it as well. I didn't love it as much as you, Davey. It was very close. I think it was near the bottom of your top 5 for the year, and I think it just missed mine because I put Sifu above it, whereas I think you put it above Sifu. I think we went the opposite ways. So a brilliant game, but I think 7 is probably about right, especially after thinking about it. But it has been a while. So I think, yeah, it's a good score for it to have, considering some of the games we've given 8s and 9s. I think 7 makes sense. But for me, it'd sway a bit, but it's fair.
And a 7 for me, I don't mean that 7 is like an average game at all. I think our ratings are very critical when we've given out scoring before. And I think a 7 is a good game. It's not like an average game that you sort of see on IGN, because they give everything a 7, don't they? Starfield was an average game. They gave it 7, right? But for me, Stray is a good game, but I'm giving it a strong 7. So if we're going into the Metacritic, it'd probably get 79% if I'm going to break it down to the extra figure like Spencer normally does. But very good game, and I would recommend it if people have that time available to them to play.
Well, let's get into it then. PlayStation Portal, Phil. You've got one. I haven't smashed it up yet. I haven't come round. Give me your thoughts on it.
You haven't been invited.
No. You want to enjoy it for a couple more weeks. So go on, give me all the fucking rundown of this fucking device then.
Okie doke. Yeah, mute yourself. Spence, you can chip in at any point, okay? But let me start by saying I didn't mean to buy this, okay? This only arrived after some speculative bids that I put onto StockX. Now, I don't know if you know about this website, but I'm addicted to this website. Basically, it has all the trainers that I could ever want, and they're all vastly expensive and elevated prices. And I shouldn't be buying things on StockX, but I find myself on there on the daily, scrolling through, going, I could spend $1,000 on a pair of trainers. That seems like a feasible idea. That's a good idea, isn't it, Phil? But hey, these things happen. And yes, I won a PlayStation Portal. I actually won it somewhat under market price, which I was happy about. So I didn't pay the full price for it. And of course, we were going through that period where it was impossible to buy in the shops. And then it started to trickle through on social media, didn't it? Where people were saying, oh, you could pick one up here. And I think PlayStation themselves actually started selling it via their site as well for a little while. But I think that stock has since dropped off. I'm not sure if it's still as vastly available, but I'm a convert with this. I say convert. I was always pro it, but I was a little worried that it would turn up. And once again, Davey, you were going to be right. But let me tell you, this thing is beautiful. And you are very, very wrong about it, okay? So it's an impressive little device, and it's like having a PlayStation 5 in your hand. It is literally 1-to-1, okay? Now, I've found the most use out of this thing by sitting on the couch when the TV's being used, or maybe that hour before bed, okay? And it's allowed me, actually, to play more PlayStation games than I ever would. And I think that's the biggest win here, okay? Because I've always complained explained throughout these 89 episodes that I don't have a lot of time to play PlayStation. I talk about PlayStation more than I play PlayStation. La-di-la-di-la. We hear it every episode. It's usually my go-to excuse when you guys are talking about some fucking obscure game that I've never heard of, okay? But this thing allows me to play more games. So I think it's a win there, isn't it, okay? Now, it's everything you would expect from a PlayStation. We've got all the haptic feedback. We've got all the bells and whistles that you would expect from the PlayStation controller, but it's in an 8-inch screen, okay? And I've only got one grumble with it throughout the time I've been using it. And I've been using it over a month now. And I pretty much use it on the daily while I'm at home. I didn't take this on my travels because I've been, all over Europe, it seems, over the last couple of weeks. But around the house, this thing is perfect, okay? But Davey, before you jump in with any critiques, I am going to give you a grumble, okay? So with the PlayStation Portal, obviously, you guys know, and you've heard this before, that I run on 2 accounts, don't I? I have my American account and I have my British account. The PlayStation Portal isn't set up for this, strangely enough. Okay, so switching accounts is very, very difficult. So I logged onto my UK account and I wanted to switch over to my US account to play some games because that's where generally I try and achieve the trophies that I achieve. But you have to completely sign out of your PlayStation Portal. You have to use your phone and a fucking QR code to be able to sign back into your account on the PlayStation Portal. It's completely ridiculous. You know how seamless it is on your Nintendo Switch. Everyone's got a Nintendo Switch and you can go back and forth to accounts and it all syncs up and it's generally quite a nice experience. PlayStation have just got this wrong, okay? And we always complain about things Sony does in a whack way, and this is one of them on the PlayStation Portal, and it hasn't been sorted out. I've Googled around and people are really annoyed. So say you buy a PlayStation Portal and you're sharing it, say with your missus. You just can't do that. It's a one-to-one. It's your device. If you want to share it with someone else, they have to completely sign out, sign into your app, get the little QR code, take the little photo. It's so drawn out and frustrating. But that's the bad. As I said, I heavily recommend this piece of hardware. And if you're like me, and sometimes you don't have access to the main TV, and the hour before bed is a perfect time to get in a little bit more PlayStation. And Davey, let's end this before you jump in and really punch down on me on this one. It's allowed me to play more games. And I think that's what you wanted.
That is what I wanted. And I'm glad that it's enabled you to play more experiences. And if you hadn't had it, then maybe you wouldn't be here talking about Stray. So that's a pro point, right? And I suppose for somebody in your situation where, you've got the one main TV and the missus is like, oh, I want to watch Antiques Roadshow. And you think, oh, fucking hell. All right, then fine. I'll sit next to you while you watch this instead of going to any other room in the house. Yeah. Okay, cool. Right, I get it, and awesome. How has the experience been? Obviously, you've been 2 feet away from the actual PlayStation. Has latency been okay? Has it all been working seamlessly at that distance?
I have had zero problems, but my house, and I will caveat this, I've spent a lot of money on my network around my house. So internet, we don't have any dead zones in my house. So if I'm up in the attic, it would still be perfect. But I would imagine if you went to another person's house that hasn't spent so much money on their sort of infrastructure around their house, probably you might find some problems, because I have been Googling around and seeing some, edge case scenarios where people have much larger houses than I do, and they find it difficult to sort of play their PlayStation Portal on their PlayStation 5 and still keep that connection, especially the older houses where in the UK, we build everything with, we used to anyway, build everything with stone. Okay, in an American house, big American house, all wood, I imagine it's completely fine. But in an old English manor, you're probably going to have some difficulties. But I'm lucky. I don't live in one of those yet, and my infrastructure is pretty good around my house, so I've had zero problems.
Spending all the money on shoes instead of the fucking mansion, mate. That's the problem.
That's what it is, yeah.
Yeah, that's what's going on. But no, fair enough. I mean, the thing I would have really been interested to know, and I suppose this is something that we can revisit as time goes on. If you do end up taking it traveling, that's why I want to know how it is. If you say, for example, you go to a hotel, I don't know, we go to Birmingham for a weekend, you decide to take it, and it fucking worked. You've probably sold me, to be honest. If it just worked and it was fine, I just can't imagine a situation where that happens. And that's what I want to know. Like, I imagine that the case scenario of being in the same house as the PlayStation, great. You know, cool, it's going to work. If it didn't work there, I'd be fucking surprised, right? Like, I'd probably be pissing myself laughing. But it's where you take it out and you go somewhere like fucking miles away. That's where I want to know. Like, I see people and they're like, I'm playing it on the beach in Bermuda. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm looking at what you're playing. You're playing Final Fantasy VII. It's a turn-based combat system. I think you're probably going to be okay there, you know? Like, I can't imagine someone being like, oh yeah, I'm playing COD on the fucking beach, you know? And it work. Like, if it did, fucking sign me up, lad. I'll be on it like a fly on shit.
Well, I got a couple of things to add to that. So the games that I've played, mainly Stray, actually, it doesn't matter, does it really, with latency, right? It's not a competitive game. But I wouldn't suggest that the PlayStation Portal is really set up for that. I think if you're going to be competitive, you want to spend the time in front of your big TV with your best headphones on and have that really good experience to give you every, advantage you could possibly have within a video game. I don't think the PlayStation Portal is built for that. But what I'm going to say about playing it off-site, I think if you went to a friend's house and they had an equally or better setup than I do when it comes to Wi-Fi and connection, I would imagine, and I'm putting my neck on the line, it's going to be pretty damn good. But where you're going to fall into a problem, Davey, is when you go to a shopping centre and, normally on your phone, you go on the public Wi-Fi and that little window pops up and you've got to sign in. You can't do that on the PlayStation Portal because it doesn't have a browser.
That's fucked. So it means you can't use it like in any hotel around the world because they all have those annoying things.
I don't believe so. So I've been doing some research about this because I did consider taking it away on my travels around Europe. But then, obviously, I've got quite a few different options. So I went with the Steam Deck. I went with my Pocket device, one of my other trips. So yeah, I've very much left my Portal at home because I didn't want to... And I haven't got a case for it as well. I didn't want to scratch it up, right? It's a beautiful object. But taking it all the way, of course, the weight of it, et cetera, et cetera. It's not a lot, but it all adds up when you're traveling, on a plane. I didn't want to take that risk, But hey, Birmingham, if there's a Wi-Fi that we could use without logging into a browser, I think it'll probably be quite good. But we'll have to experiment with that as time goes on.
Next time you come round, I promise I won't get to it. Right, I won't even touch it. I promise.
Where's your hands? Show us your hands.
I promise.
He's going like this. Yeah.
I swear. For science, I need to know. Bring it around next time you come round, and we'll test it, and we'll have a little look and see how it is. I mean, there's only like a 30-mile difference between yours and mine. We'll see how it is there.
Yeah, but it's like going back in time to your house, isn't it? Bristol is like the future. You think we got flying cars in Bristol?
I got that.
It's like the Jetsons or some shit.
I got that Virgin internet put in now. So downstairs you're fine. Upstairs, nah. But downstairs, fine. Absolutely fine. So I'd love to know. I think that's the big thing for me. If it fucking worked, Jesus, it could be the biggest fucking turnaround you've ever seen in your life if it did work. But not having a browser is fucking fucked.
Just to defend it, guys, I think it's very early days with the Portal, though, right? It hasn't been out that long, okay? And it hasn't been... As much as there's been a lot of hype around it, not many people have got them, right? So I can't imagine all this feedback has got back to Sony to the level where they thought, do you know what, we should sort this out. Because as we know, as PlayStation loyalists, to get Sony to change something takes quite a lot of pushing, okay? So let's see, in the next year or so. I don't imagine it's going to happen soon. But there's going to be a patch at some stage where it'll allow you to log into, like a browser or something. And we're going to have multiple accounts on it. But they're the two kind of gleaming faults that I'm finding with it. But for my use case, as I said, it is perfect. And I'm very glad that I won that very speculative bid on StockX. And I'm going to stay away from that website because I never want to spend any more money on there because, yes, it's killing me. This is why we need the subs, right? People need to sub to this channel because I'm out of money now. I'm gone. I need more trainers, guys.
All I think I can really say about the Portal, I think it makes perfect sense for us to, say you bring it over to Davies, it makes perfect sense for it to work flawlessly. It's just when you're about in public that there would be the issues. But your two issues there with the accounts and the browser, PS5 doesn't have a browser either. I don't think they're going to patch one in. I don't think they ever would. And the swapping accounts, or even the PS Vita, which is Davey's beloved, to swap account, you had to factory reset the Vita and sign in with a new account.
Yeah.
So
wow.
they are not fixing either of those things, lad.
Difficult one, really, guys. I'm enjoying my experience with it, but my use case is very specific. So fuck you guys.
No, I'm glad. Ultimately, I'm glad that one of us on the show's got it right. That means between us all now, we got PSVR 2 covered. We got PlayStation Portal. The next bullshit device that comes up, one of us can get on it, and we just keep on moving like that, right? I suppose. Oh, and of course, we've all got like kind of new earphone hardware. Not like we're showing it off on the show right now, but I'm using the PlayStation Buds, which I got right here next to me actually, because I use them for work all the time, and I use them for VR, and they're fucking class. And Phil, you got the Pulse Elite headset, right? The brand new one, the super duper one. You got that, don't you?
Yeah. I plumped for that. I pre-ordered that, and it came a day late, which I was very angry about. I was shaking my fist at Sony, as I always do. Oh, terrible Sony! I'm sounding like potato chief already. Fuck Sony! Where's my headset? But actually, they sent me a voucher for 15% off my next PlayStation purchase. I think it was 15%. I might be wrong on that, but I'm going to save it for my PlayStation Pro because that would be a lot of money. So it's actually worked out pretty damn well. And those headphones are a step above where I was. I just had a pair of like old Fanatic headphones that I won at some show, which weren't particularly good. They were all right for using it on PlayStation. But these ones are made for PlayStation, okay? You don't have that trailing wire to your handset. You have no connection issues. They are just flawless. But I think we should, at some point, we might do a comparison between all our headsets for PlayStation because we all have different ones. And I think that would be an interesting conversation, but maybe a conversation for a different time.
Totally agree. Too many games to talk about, my friend. Too many games and too many things to talk about. So before we get on to the one that we've all been playing, I'm going to take us on a bit of a detour, and it might be a bit lengthy. I'll try and brisk through it, but we'll see how it goes. So, as we know, listeners to the show have been waiting on bated breath for me to talk about a little game that came to PlayStation back in February, and that is, of course, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Now, I suppose before I get into that, I did play Final Fantasy VII Intermission, just as yourself did, Spence, to kind of gear me up for Rebirth. I played it, I literally came off, I think I was playing Alan Wake, and I came off Alan Wake 2, and then thought, right, let's fucking start this, let's get this done. And Intermission lasted about, I don't know, 3.5 hours, something like that. And I think from what you were saying about it, Spence, you were saying that you enjoyed it, that you thought it was good, and it was a good little bit of fun, a good introduction to Yuffie. I didn't really enjoy it very much. I thought it was okay. The big thing was playing Intermission. I reminded just how fucking piss poor the combat system was in comparison to like Final Fantasy 16 in particular. And I thought, oh my god, this plays like shit. It's so boring. And kind of got through it. I just wanted to see how it kind of linked into the main story. Didn't really care too much. Just blasted through it. I thought it was okay. But I tell you what, I'm fucking glad I did. Because diving into Rebirth, you can see the fucking changes night and day. So I'm going to start off by saying that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, so far I'm 26.5 hours in. Okay, so I feel like I've got a good old grasp of it at this point. For those who want to know where I am, I've been doing a lot of side quest content, like literally every single thing I can possibly do. So at this point, I'm at the Costa del Sol, and I just arrived there at that location. I don't know how much more I've got left to go. Looking at people online, most people seem to get about 100 hours to 130 hours on a first run. So I think I've got a lot ahead of me. It all depends, and I think this is the big thing, it all depends on how burnt out I get with side quest content. Because I think this is both one of the strengths and one of the weaknesses of the game. I suppose before I go into this in real depth, has anyone got any questions they want to ask, or do you want to just let me rip?
Kind of sounds perfect for a PlayStation Portal, doesn't it? You know, that time when you're just relaxing and you think, oh, maybe I could do a couple of side quests. I think a PlayStation Portal would fit in there nicely. I really do. Not pushing my agenda at all with the PlayStation Portal, but I genuinely think that these bigger experiences, when you've got the kind of the boring side quest stuff that you are just phoning in, you could just do that lying in bed, right? With the TV on and, brilliant. nice relaxing experience as opposed to, you sat at your TV.
You could do, yeah. You definitely could. I mean, I'm one of those kind of guys that I'll put off bed for as long as possible, and as soon as I get in there, lights are out, bro. I'm immediately asleep. Like some people have to like really force it, and it takes them ages. I'm one of those, close my eyes, gone. Like there's not, maybe I'm just not guilty about something, or maybe I have no fucking remorse or whatever it is. But I just literally...
I think it's the latter.
Yeah, I think it's the latter.
Definitely is, yeah.
I literally just lie down. I'm just gone, bro. Like obliterated to the world. And I wake up like 7 hours later, like, oh shit. It's class. It's great. But maybe that's because I'm staying up too late playing on the TV. Maybe that's what it is.
Spence, your eyes will go square, mate.
They will. They will indeed. Spence, anything you want to ask before I just delve into this?
About Rebirth, not specifically. I got a comment about Intergrade, maybe. And that's that obviously I didn't enjoy it too much. I thought it was weaker than the main game, obviously. But I enjoyed it as someone who hasn't played FF16. So I think if you hadn't played 16, you wouldn't have known about what the combat could be. So you'd have obviously enjoyed it a lot more. So I wouldn't put it necessarily at Intergrade's fault for that. That's the fault of a better game or a different game coming out years after with an improved combat system.
Yeah, very true, very true. And I suppose that is what FF16 hangs its hat on, really, is its story and its combat. And those are the two things that it does very, very well. So yeah, you're right. And I suppose it's one of those things that it's been a long time since I've gone back and played FF7 remake, for part 1. And so with years gone by now since that game, I've come to expect a little bit more from the combat. And FF16 I spent 100 and so many odd hours with last year, that kind of combat sticks with you, and it's just something that you think, God, I wish it had that combat system. God, I wish it had it. But alas. But yeah, you're right. I suppose I should be fair to it. Well, I suppose this is where I'll talk about FF7 Rebirth and its combat system, because I think this is where there's been a massive, massive improvement. Huge improvement over Remake Part 1. So the main things that come to mind straight away are that in terms of how the game works, on a base level, it works exactly the same as Remake Part 1 does, in terms of you've got bars that you fill up through basic attacks, which then you can then use to do either unique attacks or to do like magic abilities. So, fire, lightning, ice, whatever it is, healing, or use an item. That's exactly the same. But the difference is that the feel of the game is mapped so heavily to the controller. Parries are like such a huge thing to learn in this game. So just like any great game that has a parry system, you time just before the opponent hits you and you put a block, and it just makes this awesome feeling in the controller. Like for all the haptics, it just feels great. And that gives you like a real boost to, well, for starters, you negate damage, which is super handy and really, really beneficial when you got like some big hitting enemies. But it also then will do certain things depending on what your character's kind of spec'd into. And there's a lot of spec work that goes into it in terms of like, you've got your character leveling, which that will then you can then spend your spec points into different abilities that you learn, and they've got these synergy attacks which return from Intermission. So Intermission was the first game that kind of brought in these synergy attacks, and they've upgraded it for Rebirth so that now if you do so many unique abilities, it will then open up a synergy ability with a partner. So it might be that if I do 3 of Cloud's like Bravers or whatever, then at that point I get a synergy ability with Tifa if she's done 3 of her like Unbridled Strength power-up abilities, and that it might give us then unlimited MP or unlimited attack power, and we can just spam. And so you really want to be like mixing up your options and keenly aware of what each person's got as a strength and using them together in combat to be able to overcome the foe that you have. And I never really felt that level of tactical depth in the original or in Intermission when I played those games. Whereas on this, I really feel that in every single battle, and that's super, super gripping. It's done super, super well, actually. Story-wise and character at this point, every single person has been fleshed out that little bit more than where they were in the base game. You get more time with your full kind of group, and they have more kind of banter and back and forth between them, and it works really well. every single character. I mean, I've been following these characters ever since I was, a kid, and I was playing Final Fantasy VII for the first time. But to see them now being given this lick of paint and this much attention to detail is fantastic. And I'm absolutely loving where the story is building to at the moment. The downsides that I got with this game, there's a few. There's a few. For starters, even though the combat system's improved, I don't think it's a patch on 16. I think 16 is the best combat Final Fantasy's ever had. It's so good. And going back and now I got the ability to play the final DLC for 16 that just launched a couple of days ago. Going back to that while I'm in the middle of Rebirth is going to be God damn, why can't I just play more 16? I know that's going to happen to me. I know it is. It's totally different design of game. So it's not fair to put that on that. The one is a total departure. You're managing just Clive. You're not managing anyone else. And Rebirth, you're managing a whole team with all different distinct movesets, all different distinct abilities. A lot more deep, I suppose, in the tactical sense. But in terms of the mechanics, 16 feels much better. The movement around the open world in Rebirth sucks ass. I'll put that out there straight away. It is janky as fuck. You run along an open space with your chocobo or with your character, and if you hold down the sprint button, you're supposed to be able to auto kind of vault over obstacles or climb up stuff. And it works, but there's as if there's animations missing. So it's janky. If you try and go up a sheer cliff in Skyrim or something like that, and you're kind of forcing your way up and sliding back down, it's like that across the entire terrain. As soon as you go off the road and you just run, it's you're stuttering everywhere. It just does not feel polished in that way, and it feels kind of horrible. And that really does take me out of it a little bit because I'm enjoying exploring and doing the side quest content. So I'm constantly getting this thing where my chocobo's just stopping and starting all the fucking time, and I want to just book it. And I seemingly can't unless I run along the main road. And that is pissing me off the more I play the game. It's really starting to piss me off. But those are kind of my main bugbears, really. Everything else is story-wise incredible. As I said, characters are handled great. Combat's much better. So I think at the moment it's building to be a better experience than FF7 Remake was. But I got a long road to go. Now, I mentioned there's a lot of side quest content you can do, and we actually had a listener question for this, so I'm going to answer this here. So Simperheave over on Twitter has written in, and he says, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth minigames. What's my favourite, my least favourite, the easiest, and the hardest? And he says, bonus points if I don't use the combat minigames. Oh god, yeah, okay. Right, so I'll keep this quick. Favourite, Queen's Blood, by a fucking landslide. It's a card game. And I've always said card games are for losers, they're for virgins, everything else. I'll say that. I love Gwent in The Witcher. Loved it so much. So Queen's Blood is just a card game, but it's got a really unique little twist to it, where the way it works is that you've got to score higher in each lane as opposed to your opponent to be able to get the points. And it's really nice. It's fucking fantastic, actually. If I could have a little mobile version of Queen's Blood, I would buy it. I would play it in a heartbeat. I love it so much. I've done every single challenge I can get my hands on. And more Queen's Blood, the better, as far as I'm concerned. Least favourite, fuck me. It's a joint between these two because they both suck ass. So the first is Chocobo Capture. So when you go to a new area so far, I've had to only do this twice. Every time I've gone to a new area, you can't take your chocobo with you. You can't summon them across vast distances. So you got to capture one. And it goes into this sneaking mission where you've got to just get the chocobo, and they are boring as piss. And they might only last 30 seconds, but that 30 seconds is fucking horrific. It's bad. On level with that, and probably worse, is a mini game that comes up far too often. It's called Moogle Mischief. With this, right, you got these little Moogles that are dotted around an environment, and you got to bash them into a circle in the center. Fuck. It sucks so much. It's so not fun. And these little fuckers throw bombs or bananas or all this shit at you. And it wasn't until I've done loads of these that I realised that I could use their own weapons against them. That I could like push them back into their own device and injure them to make it easy. So I've been chasing around these fuckers, dodging bombs and bananas for what seems like eternity. It sucks. It is horrible. In terms of the easiest, there's a dolphin race you got to do at one point where you're on the back of a dolphin. You got to guide it round little things. Easy as fuck. Lasted about 25 seconds. Felt completely pointless being in there. That was easy. The hardest, you got to do the march in Junon, which was in the original game as well. So you got to do the parade, and it's basically just like like Spence, you know what, on the original or Rebirth,
The dance
remake
sequence.
part 1,
Is it like that?
the dance, it's that, but you can make it kind of as hard or as difficult as you want depending on the formation of the troops you have. And I made it super, super hard, and I was like, right, there's a trophy if I get top marks on this. So I'm going to just do it, try and get top marks. And it was fucking solid. It was solid. Did it, and then it's not until the end when it autosaves, it tells you your score, right? And I was like, I think I've nailed that. I think I've absolutely nailed it. I was 1 point off getting the trophy, bro. Literally 1 point. You got to get like a score of 1,000. I was like 999. I was like,
And is it like you can't choose to do it again? It's one time.
no. It's I'll do that on New Game Plus, if ever. So it's become quite freeing because as soon as I fucked that, I was like, oh, well, now I don't have to do all the side content. Now, if there's something that pisses me off, I just think, well, fuck it, I'm not going to do it now. Like, as far as I'm aware, I think you can chapter select after you finish, but I'm not sure. And I don't know if after playing, say I'm 100 hours deep, I probably can get it then, right? But looking at the trophy list for this game, it's obnoxious. You got to like 100% everything and then do it all again on New Game Plus. Like, you could just run it through, but I don't know. I don't know if I can be asked. I did it last year for 16. I don't know, man. Some of these Moogle mischiefs are going to break me. I know it. I'm going to get to one, and there's going to be something coming up. All I've heard is that when I get to a later area, that's the part that I'll break, if not before. So I haven't come to that yet. I got that to look forward to. But I'm already nearly losing my fucking mind on Moogle mischief. So we'll see how it goes. But Simbaheave, thank you for writing in, and that is it. That is my my rant on FF7 Rebirth. So I'm sure I'm going to be letting you guys know all about it as the weeks and months go on, because this game is going to be lasting me one hell of a long time by the looks of it. But guys, let's end this section with a game that we've all been playing together. So there was, just before we went off 2 weeks ago, we were going to be sitting down and talking about this. So it's been a little while since we actually all played this together. But of course, we had a Stellar Blade demo. Guys, I want to know your thoughts on it. I want to know if it's doubled down your want to be able to buy this game. I want to know each and every little bit of detail. Spencer, start over with yourself. Did you play the Stellar Blade demo? And if so, give me your thoughts.
Well, I definitely did play it. In fact, I played it quite a lot. And that's just because I played, obviously, the actual demo itself. And the demo is it's not very long. Maybe an hour, if that. But it's good. It's got a good amount of content in there. A good amount of outfits and everything. And teaches you the start of the game quite well. And I'm pretty sure it actually saves your progress for when the game comes out, but I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think it does. Here we are. But the thing that, basically, I played the demo and I wasn't that sold. I thought, it's quite good, but it could be better. But then once you beat the demo, there's a boss challenge, and that sold me on the game. The boss challenge is difficult, and it just teaches you what the bosses in this game are going to be like, and it is very much Dark Souls or Devil May Cry-esque. It's kind of a combination of the two, where you have to play as careful as Dark Souls, but the combat feels like Devil May Cry, where it's stylish and you keep just hitting those moves, and it looks awesome. So I'm not too sure how excited I am about Stellar Blade or where I'd rate it just yet, but I'm just going to tell you that boss is nailed. I think I beat it taking one hit in the end because I was just grinding it for a day because it was so much fun. So I'm not too sure on my score yet. Full game, we yet to see, but that boss that you get the fight is awesome.
Well, I mean, for your birthday, I was going to ask you you're going to get it, but for your birthday, me and Phil have pre-ordered you Stellar Blade. So you will be getting that through the post on day of release. So next week, my friend, you should be have that coming through. So by next episode, hopefully you'll be able to give us some more unique thoughts. But Mr. Hoy, you had this in your... Well, this is your kind of hopes and dreams for getting back up there on the Fantasy Critic. How are you feeling about this game? You've really come around to it. You've been really singing its praises the last few episodes. Did it live up to your expectations?
Well, it seems like a lifetime since I actually played this demo. So we got the demo, and I think it dropped like end of March, wasn't it? March, maybe 29th, I think. Well, I've got it in my notes. It was March 29th, okay? And I played it immediately as soon as I saw it on the store because I couldn't wait to dig into this game and see what it was all about, right? Fingers crossed, and yeah, it actually turned out to be pretty good, which I'm very happy about because I was putting a lot of fill power behind this game. And playing the game, I was a little bit tentative going into it. I was thinking, oh, is this going to be as good as, I've been building it up to be? And yeah, 100% it is. It's an absolutely stunning game. Okay, so the demo we get is basically just the start of the game. And as it was happening, I was taking pictures and tweeting them because I think I was like on the first sort of curve of people playing this game and putting content out on Twitter. And you get to play like a mostly linear, semi-open world start to the game. And yeah, it was challenging and it was interesting the way the counters and the dodges and the parries work. And as Spencer said, everything you do within this demo, the save does carry over because you get to a point and you get to a little camp and I was like, oh God, it's Dark Souls, isn't it? This game is actually just Dark Souls. I've been bigging up a Souls-like game, haven't I? I've fallen into the trap. I was wowed by Eve's, visuals. And yeah, I fell into the trap. And I have to admit, guys, it has won me over to that way of thinking, that way of playing. And I'm really, really looking forward to it. I have pre-ordered this game. Davey, you're right, it's on my fantasy league. And people are saying we're gonna get something in the 90s, possibly, for a Metacritic score. But I'm sure IGN will mess that up. They're very against Stellar Blade for one reason or another. But fingers crossed, it continues to be as good as the demo because it blew me away. I'm in for it. I cannot wait till it turns up on my doorstep. And yeah, happy birthday, Spence. We've bought it for you. So yeah, you'll have that on day one.
Thank you, boys.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Well, I'm glad to hear you got on well with it, Phil, because I was thinking about you. The bosses weren't easy, and I took a weird route with this game. So when I started off, and you get the opening cutscene, and you get Taki, I was thinking, oh fuck, Taki's the one, man. She's my wife. I love this girl. And then she gets fucking arms cut off and shit. I was like, oh fuck, this is not where I thought this was going at all. I thought, oh man, just give me some more Taki. I want to run behind Taki for a bit. I want to see her go up the ladders, bro. But then she gets like eviscerated, and I was like, oh well, fucking welcome to Stellar Blades. This isn't what I signed up for. And as the combat system kind of unfolded and I started to learn things, at first I was like really quite critical for it, especially like groups and like group combat when they were all around me. I was thinking, fuck, I must be fucking useless at this. Like, what the fuck is going on? And it wasn't until you get to the part where you can then upgrade skills. And then I started digging through the skill tree and looking at things and then realized that you can go into like a tutorial for each skill. And then I was like, oh my fucking God. And I spent so long in that combat simulator just learning how to get parries, how to do different mechanics, to fuck around with different combos. What's the best? What does this do? What does this weapon do? And I spent longer in that combat tutorial than I did for anything else. I was just playing with the options, and the amount of options that are there is mind-blowing. It's absolutely eye-opening, really, how deep this combat system's going to get. And I think the ways that you can specialize your character to do different things is going to be so good for this game. And to see, like, when I look at Ragnarok content, I see people that have made these builds and they can fucking like decimate enemies that took me ages because they really specialized into something. I think the way this is going to go is going to be similar in that someone's going to find some cracked ass meta, and I'm going to brute force my way through with just parries and with like, a power stat or something, and somebody will have finessed an approach that makes the game just look, so cool and stylish. And I'm looking forward to seeing all that content. Yeah, for me, it was a weird roller coaster where I was up, down on the open world stuff. I didn't like it very much, didn't think it was done very well. And then you get to that boss rush mode at the end. And like yourself, Spence, I spent ages in there, changing all different equipment, changing my different things, learning its attack patterns, learning the parries, getting it down. And I never got it to like a finesse level that you did, where it was one hit. But that's because I had to uninstall it, bro. I was like, this is going to stop me playing anything else. I loved it so much. I was always hyped on this game ever since the first showing of it. And it's doubled down to me that it's going to be something that I need to play. The downside for it right now is that I'm up Final Fantasy's ass. And I can't go from that to this to that. I can't. It's already going to have a hard enough time competing with Final Fantasy 16's combat for Rebirth. If I put Stellar Blade in the mix, I'm not going back to Final Fantasy. I'm just not going to. So I think for me, it's going to be one of those ones that will sit there and I will get to as soon as I finish Rebirth. As soon as I've done that, I'm going to get straight on this. And that's the pattern it's going to have to go. So you guys are going to have to take the flag and run with it the next few episodes, because I will not have the opportunity to play it. But definitely super buzzed for it, and I'll be amazed if it doesn't live up to the expectations that people put on it, because so far that combat system seems next level. So well done, Stellar Blade. Great demo.
That's how to do demos, isn't it? It really is. Like we've talked about it in the past, where games have come out and there's been a little bit of anticipation. There's been a few questions going around the internet of what's this game going to be like? Are they going to do it X or are they going to do it Y? And then they release a demo and then no one wants to buy it. But this game has had completely the opposite effect. Not that I think there was a lot of negativity out there, but I think a lot of people probably saw the visuals, like myself, and just thought, here we go. It's that type of game. But no, take away the visuals. We've still got a very solid game here, haven't we, boys? And Spence, we're not going to have to wait long. 26th of April. It's just around the corner next week. Oh, cannot wait.
I am hyped. I don't think it's a need to play game for me, but it's a game that I'm very excited to play. So that day one, I can't wait to just spend all day playing it and just, like Davey did in those tutorials, just fuck with that combat. And just look at the game. The game.
Yeah, Mrs. in the room. Yeah, I know, mate. I know. I can feel through your eyes. I can see what you're trying to say. I can see it. Audience, just imagine.
What's it going to be like playing it?
Oh yeah, awful.
I don't know, but I'll figure it out. I might need to lend your Portal, mate.
Take it to the toilet and play it.
Yeah. Sticky as
Everyone's
fuck.
buying a PlayStation Portal April 26th.
Jesus. Thank God it's white. It would just blend in then, lads, wouldn't it? That's the thing.
Ooh.
Jesus Christ. Spaffing on your new PlayStation Portal, you dirty bastards. But there you go. That's a fate worse than me smashing it up in it, Phil. But listeners,
You are definitely not lending it.
Listeners, I would love to know what you think about Stellar Blade or any of the games we spoke about today. If you've got any questions, you know what to do. Write in to the email pswetrust@gmail.com or hit us up on the socials, and we can then bring any questions to the next show. But let's move this show on. Let's bring it on to the quick news. Quick news.
Quick news. That's right, guys. You have made it. Listeners, viewers, well done and congratulations, because you've made it through to the quick news with Davey, Spencer and myself. Cherry pick the best, the latest and greatest from our PlayStation network, and we serve it up to you with a slice of comedy. And this week, we're going to mix it up once again, and we're going to play word association, boys, okay? So we're going to go round, and we're going to spout out a word and you've got to come up with the next word that associates to that word. If there's a 5-second pause or you repeat, you get a shot in the dark. And the order for tonight is Davey, Spencer, then myself. So I'm going to throw it over to you, Davey. And my word to start things off is hoodie.
T-shirt.
Clothing.
Hat.
Sock.
Shoe.
Trainer.
Sandal.
Croc.
Button.
Sewing.
Threads.
Instagram.
Pictures. Oh,
Memories.
fuck.
Silent Hill.
Video games.
PlayStation.
In PS We Trust.
Podcasting.
Audio.
Microphone.
CD player.
That's
CDs.
5 seconds.
Davey's pause was longer than that.
Okay, well, we'll start things off, guys. Okay, a little bit of quick news for you. And I'm going to introduce a new game that I've been keeping an eye on, okay? And we've got a little bit of an update. We are talking about the Rogue Prince of Persia. And you know, guys, that I love the Prince of Persia series, okay? So the Rogue Prince of Persia is a 2D, fast-paced, action platforming roguelike developed by Studio Evil. I've got some notes about this. So they are a 70-strong studio known for their work on a game called Dead Cells and Return to Castlevania, which you might know. So they specialize in, you know, that 2D action adventure kind of style of game. And this game looks absolutely beautiful. And it's a bit of me. I love the Prince of Persia series. I'm not a massive roguelite fan, but ultimately I think it has won me on the IP and the graphics are beautiful. We get early access on the 14th of May, and it's already on my wish list of Steam. Now, guys, I'm going to throw it over to you and ask you, have you heard anything about this game, and would you be interested in this one? Davey, coming out to you first.
I saw it on Twitter when it got announced, and it looks interesting. It really does. And it's, you know, it's taking it right back to Prince of Persia's roots. And I got to say, it's class to be able to see the resurgence that Prince of Persia has been going on. You know, to be able to see 2 games out in 1 year from Prince of Persia, a series, an IP which has been fucking dead, essentially, since, you know, the reboot they did back on PS3, wasn't it? So
Yeah.
somewhere around that. So it's nice to see it come back. Is this for me? At this point, no. I really like it in terms of, I love, you know, I love roguelites, 2D platformers, always bang, I love them. But for me, I've got to go back and play Prince of Persia that came out earlier on this year before I get to this. And that's the problem, is that now already, we're like 4 months into 2024, Stellar Blade's going to be sitting on the list, and Prince of Persia, and I've got Jedi Survivor to go back to from last year. Like, where the fuck am I going to find the time for this? So this is one of those things that I think I'll probably won't end up getting, and then I can see getting on PlayStation Plus in, you know, like 6 years' time. And then I'll be like, fuck, Phil, you were totally right. This was great, la la la. But for me at this point, it's a no-go just because of everything else it's competing with.
It makes complete sense. And ultimately, I think you've hit the nail on the head. I think it's very hard for these smaller kind of experiences to sort of stand out from the crowd, especially when it's based around an IP that we've already got a very good version of that game already out. And I've been singing its praises since I played it back in, I think it was January at the start of the year when it came out. But this one for me, it's perfect for the Steam Deck. It really is for a mobile game that I can dip into while I'm on my travels. But Spencer, do you see yourself spending any time with the Prince?
Right, the issue is, what I want to say has just already been said by Davey. He's hit the nail bang on the head, whereas it's something I would like to play, but I'm yet to play The Lost Crown. So I'd like to play that first, but I can't really play The Lost Crown because everything else is in the way. So this is a miss for me unless it comes to PS Plus. It's the exact same situation. So I just need to echo his words, really.
Great minds, my friend. Great minds. I mean, look at this synergy. Look at this synergy we got on this podcast. Fuck me. Oh, gorgeous. You got your wife beater on. Your missus handing you lagers. Mate, just got it fucking made, doesn't he? He's got it fucking
Got it
made.
made. Jealous. Right, let's have our next round of word association. So as I started off, Davey, you can start this one off.
All right, let's start it off with some weapons, shall we? Sword.
Dagger.
Knight.
Armor.
Cloth.
Trousers.
Shoes. We're back again, baby.
Sneakers.
I didn't think we could repeat.
Oh, across rounds?
Stock X.
Oh, fuck. I don't know. You lost me. Fuck, I should
How
have gone
about-
trainers, shouldn't I?
Can we implement a new rule? You can't say any words that have been used at all from any of the
Oh,
word
okay.
associations.
Yeah,
You can't use any words at all.
Like any of the ones that have already been said, even if in the next round.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay, that gets hard. Yeah, all right. Yeah, I like that. Okay, well, quick news. Fuck me. Vladimir Putin has ordered the Russian government to look into developing a video game console. This follows Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony halting sales in the country. Lads, I got this news from Twitter, right, from Culture Crave, and it fucking cracked me up thinking about it. How do you feel about having a new competitor on the console market when Russian government come full swinging in, oh viva da, with a brand new fucking console delivered to you? God, I hope that's the start of music. I want to know, do you feel that the Russian people, when they're not able to buy new consoles at the moment, would be so craving out that they'd buy a government-funded one? And secondly, give me a fucking name for it, or give me a name that you could potentially be, or a game that the Russian government would come up with. I want to know either. Thinking on your feet here.
You know, I'm usually good at thinking on my feet. First, whilst we're thinking, I'm just going to go off on it a little bit. For one, I think this is genius. I think this is brilliant. Because where would we be if not for Tetris? And where was Tetris made?
There we
Russia,
go.
baby. So imagine if they have a console they got some fella making. Innovation. Nothing like Tetris before Tetris. And now, bang, we'll have nothing like he's going to make his own name on it, isn't he? Or it's going to be like the VP-2 or something. He's going to
the
do something
VP.
like that. Yeah.
The
Or he's going to
VP's a
name it
sick
after
name.
like his arms or his gun. The VP. The VP's sick.
The
But-
VP's a great name.
Yeah, I think it's
VP-64.
yeah, the VP-64. Genius. Fucking hell. Cease and desist from Nintendo right away. But I think the only game, it would only be able to play Tetris as well. That is it. Just
Would it be
original
Tetris
Tetris.
2?
Nah. They can't improve perfection. It's just Tetris.
That's true.
with,
true.
and it just plays the Russian anthem. And that's
The
it.
entire way.
Yeah, the entire way.
A propaganda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you see like planes come off just randomly dropping bombs in places behind. And that is it. And it's just Tetris. It's sick. And you have to legally play 2 hours a day or you get shot in the head.
And all it is.
How do you think they're controlling all the drones that fly out of Russia in the war?
Oh,
It's
exactly.
all those people on their VP-64s.
Yeah, drone simulator. You think, oh my god, these graphics are fantastic. You're actually fighting the war in Ukraine. That'd be wild, wouldn't it?
We
That
shouldn't
would
be
be-
laughing about this stuff, but that's fucking funny.
That would be wild, though, wouldn't it? You'd be like, oh, bro, I just got like a 20 kill streak last night. They'd be like, no fucking way. No way, did you? And all it is, you just then learn later on that you're just you're a fucking soldier. But you're not getting paid for it. You've paid for the fucking VP-64. That's fucking wild. That'd be wild. That'd be absolutely wild. Well, Phil, have you thought of a name? Have you thought about a kind of console game that the old Vlad could put out here?
Well, let me start off by saying you will not see this, right? So if this happens, it will not be available anywhere else other than Russia. Now, I've got some Russian friends, or maybe I've got one Russian friend, and we've spoke about these kind of technological kind of, I don't know, journeys that the Russian people take. And I think experienced the same thing with the iPhone maybe a couple of years ago, where they basically came out with their own iPhone in Russia that was developed by the Russian. Hopefully, I'm not just making this up and it wasn't just a drunk conversation. And of course, it might be, because when I'm with my Russian friend, we drink a lot. But I'm pretty sure they came out with their own iPhone in Russia and they gave it to the people. And of course, it's filled with propaganda and it's controlled by the government. And I couldn't see, the VP-64 going any other way than that, because that's what they're all about, or that's what the Western public is led to believe. Putin, do not come for me. I'm happy. I'm happy. Right? China, Russia, I can be bought very easily, very, very easily. But my favorite Russian word, and I think it's a relatively common Russian word, and I hope it is Russian. Again, someone's probably going to fact check me on this, but I fucking love the word Kalashnikov. Kalashnikov. Just sounds good, doesn't it? So why wouldn't my console or the game that I'm playing on my VP-64 call it Kalashnikov? Call it Vodka Kalashnikov. What a game. Now, would you want to play that game? I would. I'd be in. I don't know what you're doing in the game. Drinking and shooting, hopefully.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Vodka Kalashnikov. That's what I'm going with.
The Kalashnikov is a gun, isn't it? We've all fired many a Kalashnikov in games, or had them shot at us, depending on who the baddies of the game are. Generally Russians or Nazis, one of the two. Yeah, I could see it. A nice first-person shooter. I mean, what are we talking more like, classic Castlevania style graphics here, or are we talking, the VP-64 is going to be pushing, big numbers out here, and it's gonna be the most impressive shooter anyone's ever seen in the market.
No, I'd imagine it's going to be 64-bit, so I'm thinking it's going to be on the same level as Doom. No multiplayer, you're just going around shooting, innocent Europeans. So, there's a bit of social commentary for you. You never expected you hear that on our show.
No, fuck no. Well, I do like the VP as a console brand is amazing, right? It's absolutely amazing. And in fact, I'm actually going to use it again for the VP, but I'm going to call it that, maybe they come out with the 64 first, and then after that does well on the market, after everyone's been mandated to buy it, they then come up with the next one, which would be called the VP Bear, because they love bears over in Russia, don't they? And so it would be the VP Bear, which would be the next one, and then the advert for it on Russian TV would be like, VP Bear, and it'd be like a swipe mark down, like a Mad Catz logo, Bear. And I reckon the game that they come out with is like a bear simulator. So it is that you're a bear in the wilderness of Siberia and you're attacking people, and you're attacking, like, it starts off like you're going into villages and just rooting through bins, but then you level up and then you get to the part where you're going out there and like attacking guards and you're attacking army people. And as Phil quite rightly said, they may have American flags behind them. I don't know, right? Whatever the propaganda is, but you can have it. Maybe the bear's ripping apart an eagle, or he's ripping apart like a robin, for the UK. He's ripping apart like all other animals that, are flags for different places, and the bear's just running wild.
I'd love to think that all these games that we play, in Europe, are kind of the opposite when it's like either sold in Germany or sold in Russia. So like the Nazis are the good guys in their games, right? If you're playing Wolfenstein, they're the good guys, right? And it's just flip reverse. I would love it if that was a thing.
That would be wild, wouldn't it? I don't think there'd be like a German person alive now that would be like, I think
probably not.
They know that the Nazis were bad, right? They've had that like nailed into them. So I can't imagine they'd be like, Joe, I'm quite on board with this fight for this Hitler guy. I don't think they'd make that mistake again. They've already done. They've already started 2 world wars. They don't want to fight a third, do they?
They're all behind the Hellgas, aren't they? That's what they're doing.
They are. Yeah, they're very.
They play Killzone from the other side. Yeah.
Yeah, they only play on the Hellgas team. They just quit out immediately if it's the ISA. Yeah. Oh, well, there you go. So that's a nice little bit of news. Jesus Christ. Right, well...
News?
Oh, God. I hope there's more to this story. I hope that the more that comes out, I really hope we get to see this. And if it is called the VP, I think we each, like Spence, gets to have impunity on a big quiz or something. Like, if it comes out and it's called the VP, fuck me. I think whatever you want, lad. Whatever you want us to do, name the shot count, lad, because you've earned it.
We never get anything right on this show. So out of all the predictions, and we should be quite knowledgeable on PlayStation things. So for Spencer to come out of the woodwork and predict something that's going to happen in Russia, that's sus.
Wild.
That is sus if he gets it right. Oh, that is sus.
Yeah. Well, all right. Okay. Eyes on Spence now going forward.
Spencer, activate. Let's go full Black Widow on us.
I've been trying to keep quiet. You boys are getting a bit too close to the truth. I'm just trying to stay quiet at the minute.
Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. Well, let's hand it over to you then, Spence. Your turn to read your piece of news and, of course, kick off with what we're doing on this word association.
Right. The word I'm going to start with, phone.
Number.
Book.
Read.
Library.
Music.
Pleasure.
Tossing.
Wanking.
Moaning.
Groaning.
Ejaculating.
Mess.
Mr. Sheen.
Tissues.
Wiping.
Washing.
Scrubbing.
Brushing.
I don't know.
Oh, he's out. He's out.
Yes.
One apiece.
Brushing.
Let's go.
Brush.
I thought you'd have gone teeth.
I'm out. Yeah. I was trying to think of stuff that isn't obvious, but hey, I lost that one. Spence, let's hear your quick news. Add me to the doc.
So, quick news for my little bit of news, lads. We're talking about the UK retailer Game, which has obviously been out for a very long time. We used to have Game Station as well, but that closed down. Game has since been struggling quite a lot, I would say, especially now with the digital rise in sales. Everyone's going digital now, and Game has since had to kind of merge with other shops. So there's very few actual games left. You just find them inside other retailers. And now it's reported that they are facing massive redundancies. So I'm not going to say this is surprising news, but again, we are back on the redundancy train. More people losing their jobs. Lads, what are we thinking about this? Is this something you thought was going to happen, or is this a surprise to you boys? Phil, how about you?
Well, I think we all saw this coming a mile away. If any of the Game employees listen to our podcast, they should have been worried, because week after week, month after month, we've been talking about issues with the retailer Game. We did a whole piece on it, didn't we? And the problems that they were having. So it's no surprise to me that now people are facing redundancy, unfortunately. And yes, it's a terrible situation, and I really do feel for them. But if you work in Game, you knew this was coming, because you didn't see a lot of money going in those tills over the last couple of months, did you? Or the last couple of years you've been working there. Okay, you're up there on your high horse, punching down on people that come in to try and buy an Xbox. Yes, we all would get off on that feeling. But probably you should start looking for a different job as well. You know, your video games degree, working in Game, need to look in the mirror, I think. Because it was always going to happen. I'm sorry to say. We don't need them. There's no reason to go to those shops at all anymore. I couldn't understand why I would ever go in them.
I have one purpose for them, but Davey, over to you first to say your piece.
Sure. I mean, this was originally came from Eurogamer, and what they said is they don't know how many employees will be laid off. I'm quoting this from them now, but it's understood that all non-managerial staff will now be on 0-hour contracts going forwards. Can I just say that's fucking such a shit move? Like, if I was in there as a job, right, and I had my 35 hours, and they were like, right, contracted 35 hours, and they're like, right, okay, there's going to be, there may be redundancies, but what we're going to do in the meantime is we're cutting everyone down to 0 hours. So now, that 35 hours that you were working, we actually need you in for 6 hours this week. Sorry, that's the way it, like, what the fuck? You're not going to hang around for redundancy. You're going to leave, and that means you've missed out on your redundancy pay.
It all matters if you've worked there for 2 years, doesn't it, with redundancy? So if they worked there for 2 years, take that redundancy because you get a payout. But if it's anything less than the 2 years, you're screwed, basically.
It's fucking shit. Because I mean, most of these kids that are in there are generally younger people, right? They're people that are like, either just starting off on the career ladder, or the people that have, they're doing university degrees on the side, things like that. I hate 0-hour contracts. I know they serve a purpose, and especially in, the kind of service industry as this is, but I still fucking hate them, and I think it's grubby as fuck. I mean, Gamer owned by House of Fraser, who do this already across all their stores, it's fucking grim. You're right though, in both of you, what you're saying in terms of the writing's been on the wall. When they stopped trading in games, that's a huge moneymaker for them, that they were just making pretty much full profit on that. And they stopped doing that because they don't have the brick and mortar stores anymore, so they don't have the space to keep the games in. There was other solutions they could have done. There was other markets the game could have gone into years ago and made themselves a place where you wanted to go and buy a game. Like, there's things they could have worked out. I don't know how they could have done it. They could have had things where there's people break street dates all the time, right? Maybe they could have just put some money down and been like, right, in the UK market, we get it a day early. And that's just the way it is. If you want to sell it through us, we do it. And they could have put some kind of monetary incentive there to different people to fight back against digital environment. But they never did. They never looked to find ways outside of the box. They just always tried to compete. But they were always more expensive than anywhere else. And sure, they were the only place that sometimes you could get the physical deluxe editions of things. But that was it. So outside of those couple of games a year that you want to put down that 150 quid, 200 quid, there was no other reason to ever go there. I think the only time I went there and bought something was when I bought my PlayStation 5. And I went there and picked it up at midnight. I can't think of another time that I've gone and bought something from there. And this has been the entire generation.
Didn't we buy Super Smash Brothers from there? On the
that was before PlayStation. That was
before it.
Before PS5, my friend. Much before. So yeah,
Way
apart
before.
from that.
Oh yeah, way before, yeah.
Yeah, apart from that, I mean, has anyone bought anything? Spence, you were the same as me. You picked up from Game. Have you picked anything up from there since?
See, that's what I was going to say. I had one thing that actually, in defense of Game, and that was just midnight releases. That was the one thing I was going to say, is that obviously I was there for midnight for my Switch. I was there for my PS5. And I love a midnight release because that feeling, Davey, of when we got in and joined the party chat on midnight and both booted up Astros was sick. And you wouldn't get that if the Game wasn't there. Like, if Game's gone now, if Game goes, we're not getting midnight releases again. We're not going to get them anymore because they don't have the shops, I don't think.
I mean, you'd end up going to Tesco, right? Or Asda or something like that that's open 24 hours and getting your pre-order from there instead, I suppose. There will be other places you can go. It doesn't have to be Game. And you could probably go to, like, your little mom and pop shop that still sells video games, especially in, like, you think smaller towns. You don't want to go on a holiday and you go to, like, a little seaside town in the middle of, buttfuck nowhere in the UK. And there's always a little, like, independent video game store there. And you'd still be able to, but it would become a lot harder, I think, than it is right now, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I mean, in their defense, I don't think your idea of breaking street date is viable. So I think if you're intentionally doing it, there has to be some sort of legal repercussions. I don't think that's really an option for them. I mean, I got FF7 Part 1 a week before it came out. And I just went to Argos and they just gave it to me because they had it. But that's not something they are supposed to, I think, publicize.
No, and I'm not saying they do it, like, intentionally, like they just break street date and say fuck it. I'm saying that what they could do is, if they had thought outside the box, they could have gone to the different publishers and said, hey, we want to have an advantage to selling your game if we chuck you X amount for, like, whatever it is, to be able to have, like, they always bid for different exclusivity deals for different content. Like, for the game that can't be mentioned, for example, you could only buy the deluxe editions through either the Capcom store or in the UK through Game. Those are the only places. Why didn't they just think, oh, you've got the release date as this, we're getting stock in here. If we chuck you X, can we sell it then? And they say, yeah, sure, we'll sell you the rights to that. another way for the publisher to make more money because they can sell that exclusivity, and it's a way to be able to get people to go to game to be able to buy it, right? Like, if you think about digital stores at the moment, like there was news recently which doing the rounds about Star Wars Outlaws, where if you want that 5 days early or whatever, you've got to buy the 130 quid edition. So it exists already in like digital marketplace. If they were smart about it years ago, game probably could have worked out something. It would have taken a lot of work, especially with each individual publisher, but it would have given them an incentive. It would have given people a reason to want to go. I don't think it's off the table in terms of possibility. I don't know how hard it would be to do, but that's not my job to fucking sort out. I'm not there to give them their fucking reasons to keep them in business.
Even if they couldn't release it before the date, they could almost have it in store that you could like almost do a trial of the game, right? Because they used to have consoles set up in the store, if I'm not mistaken, where you could go in and play your game. So to bring back that kind of boyhood kind of nostalgia for me would be brilliant, right? To go into the store and play a game you've never played. I think that probably would be an area that they could have capitalized on. And just going back on one of your previous points, Davey, I've got one down the road. I've got a little mum and pop store called Game Scene UK, shout out, that I go down and frequent. And yeah, I always try and buy my games from those little independents more than Game Scene, because you get a little bit of knowledge, because the people behind the store that are running it are vastly knowledgeable down at Game Scene UK, and you can get a lot of information when you're buying your games rather than maybe going to one of the online stores, faceless corporations, etc., etc. It's kind of nice to give back to those guys, so I always try and support them where I can.
Yeah, it is nice, and it's one of those things that if you don't support them, especially local shops, they go right.
Yeah.
And especially with things like that, they're the type of people that you could probably buy the game, and if you hated it, take it back, and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, we'll sort you out with something." Like, yeah,
and they still do secondhand stuff.
Yeah, and I bet they're the kind of place that you can find a fucking gem as well. Especially if they were off, if they didn't understand it a little bit even better, because then you might go in there. Like I went to to buy Silent Hill 1 the other day. I was thinking, oh, do you know what? I've got it digital. I wouldn't mind having it on the shelf. 90 quid they wanted in CEX. 90 quid for a fucking PlayStation 1 game. Fucking ridiculous. But if you got into Game Scene, fuck, maybe they don't know. Maybe they got it up for like a $5 or something. It's like going to a car boot, isn't it? Sometimes you can fucking hit the motherload.
Yeah. The problem is everyone's got the internet these days. So, even these little mom and pop stores, they've checked on eBay, haven't they? And then they just elevate the prices, unfortunately. But I think when it comes to actual bargains, you want to be going to your car boots or your charity shops. Generally, you would find things, but again, it's a black hole of absolute shit in those stores, because all you go in is finding FIFA 2000, FIFA 2001, FIFA 2003. Those are the games you generally find at the bargain basement. But now and again, I'm sure they are in there if you search hard enough. But do you want to spend the time, or do you want to just spend 90 quid?
Yes, fair enough. Well, I think we've spoken enough on this. Rest in peace, game. You're not long left for the world. Let's just end it there, because they are going to die. I think before 2027, I think we're going to see games demise. Probably sooner than that.
Is that another prediction? Can we put a shot on that?
You can, but that's a long wait for a shot, lad.
Oh, we're going to be continuing in this. We'll be on PlayStation 6 or 7. We'll be doing it.
Oh, yeah.
Stay strong.
But either way, moving on, that now brings us back round to you, Phil. So your round of a word association.
Okay, and let's carry on the theme. I'm going to start with death.
Life. Oh no, he's out. That's the quickest one ever.
Drink.
Fuck me.
Drink.
Fuck me. That was bad. Death, life. Well, there's nothing else.
I was like, fucking. In my head, as soon as he said death, I thought, yeah, life. And then you said life, and I went, yeah. Oh. Shit.
Okay, quick news. And guys, I've got some updates on the fast approaching Ghost of Tsushima coming to PC, because they've introduced a couple of things that have piqued my interest, okay? So within the director's cut that we're getting, we've got the PlayStation overlay, we've got cross-play, and we've got trophy support for PC. So it's that seamless integration that they're striving for now on PC with our PlayStation games. So it's blurring the lines a step further. Okay, so while playing the games, you can earn PlayStation trophies just like on PlayStation consoles. Ghost of Tsushima's Director's Cut on PC shares the same trophy set as it does with the game on the PS5. So it's not a separate trophy set that you might be thinking. I seen your eyes, Spencer. You were like, I could play it on PlayStation, I could play it on PC and get 2 platinums. No, sir. It's the same trophy set, okay? And Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut, that's May 16th. So when that hits the stores, you can go in and you've got this new beautiful overlay that then blurs the lines between PC and our PlayStations, which I think, my opinion, is a very, very positive thing to see PlayStation putting in the time and effort to really support those players over on PC. Now, guys, I know every time I take the PC aspect of this and I ask you, are you going to play it? And you always say no. But does this hold any interest to you guys? Let's spin the question a little bit differently. Davey, I'm going to throw it over to you.
It does actually, yeah. Not in terms of me actually enjoying this set of features, but I think this is really fucking clever. I don't say that very often for PlayStation. I really don't, especially when it comes to its PC integrations and things like that. But I think this is fucking genius. Because trophies, when they first got introduced on PS3, they got me hook, line, and sinker. And there is something about earning that platinum that is just so fucking cool. Even people that are like, Xbox, Xbox ride or die, and they're the ones who really, got this whole achievement system, up and running. They beta tested it for us, essentially. They love getting a play. There's something about it that's just fucking real sweet. And this could be the thing that somebody then starts getting into trophies. And then where can you get more trophies? I don't know, maybe on the PlayStation. And it just fucking works. It's great. But the thing that I think this has the biggest impact for me is in-game voice chat. The quality of in-game voice chat on PlayStation, on like the party system, is fucking awesome. And sure, Discord's there as well, right? Discord works super, super well. I love voice chats. I love the groups. I like how easy it is to set up all through the PlayStation. It's just how I work. And if I was playing Ghost of Tsushima Legends with somebody, which this game has Legends, which is the co-op multiplayer that you can play between both, we could just get into a voice chat just through party, just like as if they're playing on PlayStation with me. I think it's just super cool. I really like it. I like how easy it is to manage, and you don't have to rely on a phone or any other device. I think it's class. And so for me, that's the part that I really like from this. But Spence, I can see you're rolling your eyes. So what are you thinking about all this?
I have the complete opposite opinion of you, mate. I think this is a terrible idea for PlayStation. And that's just from someone who is a PC gamer or has been in the past. The worst thing would be buying a game on Steam, downloading it. You hit start and the game doesn't pop up. Uplay pops up, or Battle.net pops up, or whatever Origin pops up. And then you have to then go onto that system and then boot the game through there as well. It's not something on PC that people like. Everyone typically hates it. And people don't need the in-game voice chat because they're on PC. They're going to use Discord. On PlayStation, we have Discord. We will just use Discord because it's better on PC. That's what people will be using. Trophies, they're not going to care. They're not PlayStation players. They got achievements on Steam anyway. It's not the same. I think it's an awful idea. And I'm hoping it's kind of like when you're playing a game on Steam, you can press Shift Tab and the overlay comes on. I'm hoping it's just its own something like that. Because if it is something similar to Uplay or Origin, where it boots up a whole different window instead of the game itself, people are just going to get frustrated by it. And I don't think it's a smart practice for PlayStation.
I agree with both of you, but for kind of different points. And Spence, you're completely right. If I'm on PC, everyone's going to use Discord. But I suppose it all depends on the friend dynamic, doesn't it? Who are you playing with? If your friend is a little bit more, PlayStation Pro, you might be like, yeah, come over and use the new in-game voice chat. We know it's not going to be as good as Discord. But then on PlayStation, is Discord really up to scratch compared to PC? So it all depends on that friend dynamic, doesn't it? Which one is actually going to win out that argument, okay? I think the Discord one is a little bit closer than I imagine the PlayStation chat's going to be on PC. But you're right. If I'm on PC, 100% it's going to be Discord. But when it comes to the trophies, and I'm not the biggest advocate for trophies, as people know, it is a way of tying you into a system. And I think it is very wise now that PC is getting more and more PlayStation games, and you can start to come into our ecosystem and start to understand what it feels like to get that platinum trophy or to get trophies within our game. And as Davey said, hopefully it would encourage you then to maybe play more PlayStation games on PC and maybe get more platinum trophies than me, because you could probably do that quite quickly.
So coming over to myself then, let's kick this off. Let's get it down and dirty, shall we? Speaking of dirty, no, in fact, dirty.
Filth.
Poo.
Scat.
Excrement.
Toilets.
Diarrhea.
Spence.
Wife beater.
Gay.
Cock.
Chicken.
Balls. Oh, that works so well. Chicken balls, bro.
Hairy.
Yeah. Barber.
Shave.
Trim.
Fade.
Bald.
Recede.
Old.
Young.
Baby.
Death Stranding.
Norman Reedus.
Walking Dead.
Carl.
Fuck, I don't know Walking Dead characters. Shit. Okay, yeah, fuck. Fuck, Clementine! Oh, fuck! No. Oh, damn it. Quick news. Can I turn the button off for this, guys?
I'd
It's going
say
to be
so.
difficult to discuss otherwise.
I'd say so, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, the button is off. Quick news. Resident Evil 9 is rumoured to be an open world-esque. Now, I got a kind of 2-for-1 here. So I'm going to leave that hang. And then I've also got some other Resident Evil news here as well, okay? So this one's only a little short one, though, I think. The listing for the native PS5 editions of Resident Evil 2, 3, and 7 have now been taken down. So it looked like they were announced and then kind of quickly removed. And normally I wouldn't give anything about this because they've all had next-gen editions. But the big thing is that the RE7 edition mentioned PSVR, meaning that we could finally get the port of Resident Evil 7 to PSVR 2. Guys, do you think we will see these native editions come to like storefronts and different places that people can just buy them, off the shop? You go, oh, there's Resident Evil 2 remake. I can buy that for PS5. Do you think that's going to happen? And do you want to be able to see Resident Evil 7 come on to PSVR 2? I suppose those are the first things, and then we'll dive into RE9 in a moment, because I think that's going to be a lot bigger of a discussion. Spence, over to you first.
Sure, mate. So, do I want to see this? Yeah, of course I do, mate. When RE7 first came out and the PSVR first came out, Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, the clips of RE7 VR there was countless numbers of clips, and it's just the perfect game for that kind of setting. I wasn't scared of RE7, but I can tell you now, if I was in VR, I would be cacking my pants. Especially just to start when you first walk into the house and it's pitch black. Oh, nah. It'd be horrific. But would I play it? Absolutely. I would buy the game full price again for that port. And then just for the other games as well. Yeah. I mean, they've got next-gen upgrades anyway. I wouldn't be too fussed. But RE7 is definitely the big one. And I would absolutely adore to see it come to PSVR 2. If anything, that would probably be what I want the most on the system currently.
What about yourself, Mr. Hoy?
I think it's a no-brainer. It's obvious going to happen, right? It's what the fans wanted with this game. You guys are massive advocates for the PSVR 2. And yeah, I've got my fingers crossed for you boys that you'd be able to play the buttons off for me as well, I assume, Resident Evil 7. Just about to hear it then. Wah, wah, wah. No, we can all say it. Resident Evil, Resident Evil, Resident Evil. God, it feels good to be able to say that on the show. And for anyone joining in PS We Trust for the first time, we've always got this rule because otherwise we would talk about Resident Evil exclusively in everything we reference because we're all massive fanboys of the series. But yeah, this news was obvious. So let's move on quickly to the more juicy part.
Okay, Resident Evil 9 rumored to be an open world-esque. Fuck me. Okay, well, before I have my say, Spence, let's go back round the circle. How do you feel about this?
I fucking hate it. If it's open world, I will be livid. I mean, I'll still play it. I'm sure I'll still love it. But I don't like open world games. I just don't like them. It's the reason I've not felt pushed towards Rebirth. I have no excitement for it because I know it's majorly an open world game. And I'm just not a fan of them. I really can't be arsed. So this is just the worst news for me. I don't want it. If it comes out and it looks fantastic, sure. Am I going to play it anyway? Yes. But I love the linear experience of Resident Evil and the backtracking of it. If it's an open world experience, that backtracking surely won't really exist, or not to the same depth and level. It is just not where I want to see the franchise heading. So unless they pull out a blinder and it's amazing, this is awful news for me.
Fair enough. Well, I suppose the conversation is probably going to evolve more into what it means to be open world. But before we get into that, Mr. Hoy, thoughts?
I've just got to echo everything Spencer is saying there. You know, Resident Evil for me is survival horror, and that's what I look for within the series. The more scarier versions of Resident Evil tend to be my favorite ones. I don't want them to go too far left wing with this one and change something fundamental to what makes a survival horror for me. I don't know many survival horrors that are open world that have really, spoke to me and I've enjoyed. It's just not, it just doesn't work in my head, right? I do like open world games. Some of my favorite games of all time have been open world games, but it just doesn't sit right having Resident Evil open world. I don't want them to make that change. But hey, they've changed things in the past, and ultimately they made one of the most popular games in the series where they introduced all the action pace within Resident Evil 4. So do you think it's really time now for them to make that change again? I was really liking where they were going with the current kind of arc of Resident Evil, where it was that third person kind of more scary part of Resident Evil. And I hope they'd continue on that track rather than switching gears. But yeah, it's not good news for me.
I think for me, I'm actually a little bit optimistic. And the reason is, and I've played a game that you guys haven't, and that's The Evil Within 2. And that is a semi-open world. RE9 could go that route. And it fucking works super well in Evil Within. But the downside to it, and I suppose it could be a downside or a strength, it depends on how well they meld in all its gameplay systems. So Evil Within has stealth. It has a lot of stealth-heavy combat. Very resource dependent. So you're looking at things from a distance and thinking, fuck, how do I go about this? And how do I either sneak around it, which ups the tension so much? Or if I engage, I've got a disposal of weapons, which also very different tasks within that environment. To use the environment to your advantage, it might be that you walk up to something, you push over like a gasoline barrel, it creates a line across the floor, use a flame arrow to be able to set that alight to stop them coming at you from that angle and block things off. It's got to be designed in a very different way from how Resident Evil typically is if it does go semi-open world. If it goes full open world, fuck no. Fuck no. Full open world will be a nightmare. I can't imagine having side quests and doing all this bollocksy content shit in a game that's supposed to be high atmosphere. I can't see it working. I cannot see it being able to capture you and make you scared to go ahead. But no, you want to because, there might be some upgrade points behind that wall. I don't want any of that bollocks in my Resident Evil. But if they design it in a way that's very different from the other games and they go more taking pages out of the Evil Within's territory, I think it could well work. Because Evil Within 2 is one of the best survival horror games I've ever played. They could definitely take some leaves from it. The big issue is how many leaves you take out of a different book before then it isn't Resident Evil at all. Because I'd argue at this point that we're going back, we swung back to what Resident Evil is the last few years. We went very much off track with 4, 5, and 6. We went into the fucking weeds with this franchise. And sure, it had the best sales it's ever had, still. But it fucking killed the franchise, essentially. And need a hard reset to bring it back down to a very linear, slower paced backtracking of 7. 8's then taking it up a notch. And it's a bigger area, but it's still very much tied into 7's kind of core dynamics. Not to the same level. A lot more action-paced. And then 4's shown us that you can then take a third-person game and still make it terrifying and put numbers in there and it still work. If they borrow too much from everything else, they will lose the identity of Resident Evil. And I think for me, I would prefer them to swing the door fully back the other way and for it to go even tighter, even more linear, even more puzzle progression based. That would be the dream for me, would be a smaller game that's 6 hours or 8 hours in length, that is very tight, very dependent on your own skill in managing the enemies around, managing your resources, managing your puzzles and how fucking smart you are. That, as opposed to bigger and bigger and bigger and more bloated and more shit thrown in for good measure.
Could you imagine like a 60 to 80 hour Resident Evil open world?
Fuck
It's
no.
just not what I want, is it, at this stage in my life? And it's not what I would look to the series for, because open world games tend to be long. That's kind of the nature of an open world game. There are so many things to do within that world. They fill that world, don't they, with lots of side quests. And yeah, no, you're completely right, Davey. It's a daunting thought if they went to that sort of big level of a full open world.
I mean, Evil Within 2 is 25-ish hours, and that's long, right? And it was long for a survival horror, and if it wasn't as good as it was, then it would have lost me, right? But you can't ape that. Like, that's that game's design. It felt like a natural evolution, whereas Resident Evil has had 25 years worth of evolution to get to the point it's at now. It would be like you're playing Street Fighter and all of a sudden you don't press back to block, you know? And it goes to Mortal Kombat style blocking. You lose like kind of what makes that game its thing. Like,
or it's a platform fighter.
Yeah, exactly.
It's pretty much what it could be. Like with Resident Evil, they're just trying to find something. Well, this Rumour is just trying to find something new to attract a new audience, right? And it did kind of work with the action pace. So I can kind of get where this is thinking and what this is trying to achieve. But as the hardcore, and I think us three all are, right? It doesn't feel like the most, the best choice for our needs.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, the beauty of Resident Evil is its replayability. And if it goes to open world or semi-open world and increases that game length, for me, RE4 is the one I hate playing, or 5 or 6, I suppose, because they're all about 15 to 20 hours. And it's just too long. I never want to go back to them. Whereas 1, 2, 3, 7, and 8, they're like the perfect lengths where you could never get enough of them. Even if you've beaten it 10 times, it's just such a nice, quick little playthrough that you always want to go back. And if they start getting too big and mess with it too much, it's just not. What you said, Davey, is right. The formula just goes out of whack and the identity's gone. So I really hope this doesn't happen. Even if it's semi, mate, I don't want it to be semi-open world. Like, RE4 is a brilliant game, but towards the end of it, I was like, fucking, this is getting on.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And this is the thing. I mean, we'll have to just keep, of course we will. We'll keep a fucking close eye on this. And as soon as we hear more and more rumors start coming in, if this starts to get substantiated, maybe we might have to start worrying, lads. It might be the time. We're always talking about how good Capcom are, but they're due a miss. And, if we count Exoprimal out of it, I don't want that miss to be in RE. I do not fucking want that to be in this franchise in particular. fuck around. If they want to make an open world horror game, experiment with something like Dino Crisis, right? Like, experiment with something like that. Sure, it's loved, but it's not as important. It's nowhere near as important as RE. You know, go off or just create a brand new fucking franchise. You don't have to put it in here.
They've got an open world zombie game. It's Dead Rising.
Yeah, you could put that in a horror spin, couldn't you? Fuck around with it there.
Yeah, it's comedy, but it's zombies. It's open world.
Yeah, fuck it. Why not? As long as it stays away from my Resident Evil, I don't give a fuck. But we will keep a close eye on this, and as soon as we hear any more, we will let you know, listeners. Now, Spence, round to you for your final piece of quick news, and the final piece for all of us.
Okay, so the word I will start with, lads. I'm going to say Phil.
Oh, he's fucked. He's bottled it. He's absolutely bottled it. On the first fucking one. Oh my God, he's bottled it. His own name. He didn't even go Hoy.
Could have
That
said
is
anything
me.
you enjoy.
There's too many things to say, right? Yeah, I guess I failed on Phil. I was quite enjoying these games. Damn.
I failed on Phil as jokes.
That's wild.
Because I was trying to think, what's the thing that most relates to me? And then, yeah.
I thought you'd say like Liverpool or...
I could have just looked behind.
Yeah, you could, if you just quickly went, "What?" You'd have got one right away.
You could have just said Hoy. Could have said your name.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we slowly
Go
just
on.
give out his address.
No, then we just go to... We could have gone to Chris Hoy. Or I could have said Chris, because that's
There we
another
go.
Hoy. And then you could have said Jill. And then next thing you
Cycling.
know, whatever.
Oh,
But bottled it.
There we are.
it's failed at the first hurdle.
Failed at the first hurdle. Either way, quick news. Unlucky, Phil. Unlucky. Quick news. We actually have quite a big one. So as usual, lads, I'm here to give you your monthly games for the month. This month being April. But we actually have the game catalogue as well. So for first, I'll go for the monthly games, just for simplicity's sake. So the games we have this month coming to everyone, I think they're available currently. So you can download them right now. We have for the PS4 and PS5, Minecraft Legends. For the PS4, Skull the Hero Slayer. And for the PS5 only, we have Immortals of Avium, which I know Davey was keen on ages ago. And I'm pretty sure you got for a good deal, right?
I tried to get... So it was in Asda for like £6 or something. And I tried so hard, but it was sold out. Yeah, it was gone, bro. I tried really hard, so I'm fucking chuffed with this.
I bet. Is that the one that you're looking forward to out of the three?
Yeah, actually, yeah. So Minecraft Legends, I could play with Cass, and we've played it in the arcade because they got little like button masher ones in the arcade by us, and so we played it there, and it was fine for a minute. But Immortals of Avium, I'm thinking for me, like I actually really liked the look of this game, and you know I was saying all the time every time we saw about it, I was making up spell names as I was throwing stuff, fireball, Hazangar, like all random shit as you're throwing out spells. It didn't review well. And it certainly didn't sell well. But if I can get it on the PlayStation, and sure, if it's like, I don't know, a 10-hour experience, that would be a nice little palate cleanser before I dive back into something big. So I've already redeemed it. I've not downloaded it yet. I've got too many things to play. But I reckon I'll have seen that through by the end of the year. And I'm hoping the trophy list is nice. If the trophy list is gash, then bro, then it's just going to be a quick, just main fly through on normal. But if it's got a nice trophy list, hey, it could be another platy for the list.
Nice, mate. Nice. I've just looked it up. I haven't looked up the trophy. I won't do that. But it is 15 hours to beat, or roughly 30 if you want to do everything, I believe. So it seems good. And I'm pretty sure I heard that it's been patched quite a lot since release, and now it's actually a lot better.
Oh,
So
nice.
maybe something to look forward to. Davey, obviously you worked out for this. Phil, I'm not too sure how keen you were for Immortals of Avium. So what are your thoughts on this list?
Well, that would be the one I would pick, actually. And I did a little bit of research. Metacritic gave it a 69, so 69 dudes. So Malls of Avium. This is the 2023 first-person shooter, and it was published by Electronic Arts. So they haven't done well with this game initially, but I think this is the best time to actually play this game. And I've got a little bit more information on that patch that you were talking about, Spence. So as of April the 4th, we had patch 1.0.6.3. Yes, I've done my research, and they've rolled out HDR support with this game. Now, this game already looked beautiful, but now we have high dynamic range support to enhance players' gaming experience with more detail and realistic visuals. So yes, I think they're going to see a peak in the player base for this game because it's free for us on PlayStation subscription, and it now looks better than ever. 69%, guys. It's probably not going to be fun, but it's going to look good. Minecraft Legends 71 and Skull the Hero Slayer. Actually, this one looked pretty interesting as well, and that got the highest Metacritic score. That got an 80%. So if you're judging it by Metacritic, Skull the Hero Slayer would be the one to play.
Ooh, nice. I mean, for me, I think Immortals of Avium is the one that stands out to me as well. It's just being a PS5 game that we were all quite keen on when it was shown. So that's the one I would go for too. But it's a fine month, I think. It's not a month that I think blows us away, but this game's for everyone there. So if for your kids, you got Minecraft Legends. For the people who obviously didn't buy a 69% Metascore game, now they have the option to play it for free. So I do think it is a good month. Right, so moving on to the game catalog for April. So there's this game called Animal Well, which is launching day 1 on PS Plus game catalog, and that is the first thing it says. So moving over there, that is for the PS5 only, launching May 9th. Oh, that's not an April game at all. Fair enough. It's part of this apparently, but it launches May 9th. So a bit of bullshit there, but Animal Well. Look forward to it, lads. We also have Tales of Kenzara Zhao for the PS5 coming. We have Dave the Diver, which apparently is great for the PS5 and PS4. We have Oddballers for the PS4. We have one for Davey, Construction Simulator PS4 and PS5. We have The Crew 2 for the PS4. Raji, an Ancient Epic PS4, PS5. Lego Ninjago Movie Video Game. Terrible title for the PS4.
Shocking.
Nour? Nour? N-O-U-R? Not sure how to pronounce that. Nour, I don't know. Play With Your Food. PS4, PS5. Deliver Us Mars. PS4, PS5. Lego Marvel's Avengers, PS4, Miasma Chronicles, PS5, and Stray Blade, PS5. That is a hefty amount of games. And that's just for the extra. That's not even onto the premium games yet. That is crazy. For the premium classics, we get Alone in the Dark, The New Nightmare, original PS1 version. We get Star Wars Rebel Assault 2, The Hidden Empire. And we get the original release of Medieval. All 3 of those being playable on the PS4 and PS5. So lads, looking at this enormous list of games, which ones stand out to you? And are you happy with this list? Davey, over to you.
Do you know what? There's a few on here that's piqued my interest, right? If I start with the premiums, going back to Alone in the Dark, like I didn't talk about it in what I've been playing because we spent so long on everything else, but I've been playing the new Alone in the Dark. And it's okay. It's all right. I'll talk more about it on the next episode. But I've never really played an Alone in the Dark game. So to go back to the original, and to kind of play that as soon as I finish the remake will give me a lot of context in terms of what they've improved. So I'm going to be doing a review on the new Alone in the Dark. So I'll need to have played this. So to have this as part of the classics takes one headache away from me. Because I was thinking, which version is going to be best? Should I get out my PS3 where I can seemingly get anything? Should I just download it as a ROM? So I'm really happy with that. I think that's a great little inclusion to have. And it's a smart little bit of advertising when Alone in the Dark's only just come out recently. So I'm really happy with that. I think that's a great little option to put in there. For me, guys, and I know this is going to be the wild one to pick, the one that stands out to me is Noir, Play With Your Food. This seems fucking nuts. Experimental food art game that blends mouth-watering visuals, dynamic beats, and playful exploration. I don't know how the fuck this is going to go, but that's worth a download and a fucking try if I've ever seen it. If I can put ice cream in a bath and chuck sprinkles on it and a fucking gummy worm, Fuck. I don't know. I'll give it a go. I reckon it's going to be wild. You know, how many times can you say that, oh, yeah, this is a truly unique experience? Not many. I've never played a fucking food art game in my life. Unless you can't cook in Mama. So, or Overcooked. Fuck it. I'm going to give it a go. I'll give you thoughts on the next episode, lads. Noir, that's my pick.
Fucking fair enough, mate. You got a sweet tooth as well. I think you playing this would be
I do.
terrible for your health.
Might help my diet, mate.
I don't think it will. It's just going to make you want sweets.
Yeah, I do, yeah.
But fair enough, mate. I'm glad you've taken that because I was not going to take it. Phil, mate, over to you. What do you think of these games?
I think it's a really good list. And, you know, the headline act here is Dave the Diver. You know, that had a 90% Metacritic. God, I wish I had that in the Fantasy Critic when that came out in 2023. Now, this game combines both action-adventure and management gameplay styles as the player explores the deep-sea environments to gather ingredients for a sushi restaurant. Now, if that hasn't sold you, and the 90% hasn't sold you, this game is legendary, and it hasn't been out that long. This is a big game to be getting on PlayStation, and I think it is perfect for PlayStation Portal, just to nip that in once again. But the list, it is actually fabulous. It is a really strong list. And that Tales of, I'm going to butcher this, Zao? That one, particularly, another Metroidvania, because I've been hot on the Metroidvanias recently with Convergence and, of course, Prince of Persia. This one looks like it's a bit of me. Again, it comes from EA, so I'm a little bit doubtful. I'm always a little bit worried when things come from EA. But this one, I think, does speak to me, and I would put some time into this one. Yet to be rated on Metacritic as well, because I think it's launching on PlayStation Plus, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, it is. I believe that's the game that was the fella developed it for his father who passed away. I think it's that game. And I think it was quite emotional when he was talking about this, if I remember right.
Yeah, you're right. It was shown at like a Game Awards, and I remember coming out of it and we were discussing it, and you mentioned that game, and you were like, yeah, that looked great. I think that was in the Game Awards that just went, the most recent one actually, was where it was first shown, and he came out, and it was like kind of a Black Panther vibe. To the entire game. So, and yeah, you picked up on that. So when I saw this game was in the list, I was like, oh, Spence will be happy.
Yeah, I'm happy. I think that is probably the big game for me in this list. That and, like you said, Phil, Dave the Diver. Some of my friends, my PC mates, have been raving about Dave the Diver. So I've been keen to try it out. I did already check the Platinum Trophy for it, like last week, and it is like a 30-hour Platinum. But it's supposed to be like a 2 or 3 out of 10. So it's easy, and if the game is as good as the Metascore says, then that would be a great Platinum for people to go for, and I think just a great time all around. But this list is sick. This is a great list, and it has stuff for everyone. Literally everyone, even with the kids' games being the Avengers and the Lego Ninjago. It's just a fantastic month, I think. Even with the classics as well. Those 3 classics games are really good too. I think this has been a fantastic month for Sony, and just well done.
2 in a row. 2 great months of PlayStation Extra in a row. I mean, how often do we say that on the show? We're saying every now and again, it's pretty good, there's some good stuff in here, but they've really hit a strive. I mean, if we get another month in a row, and 3 in a month, we're going to start seeing a fucking pattern that you have to get this. I mean, we're always saying they should at least get extra, right? But for me now, 2 months of solid premium, my premium goes up in 3 days. I got to make that call in 3 days, what I do. And right now, they give me a lot of incentive to go for premium.
Yeah, I think we'll leave it there, lad. We'll see. What your decision will tell us. Next episode, let us know if you stick or you change. And that will tell us. But I believe that is it for quick news, right?
Correct. And yeah, that is the end. We've all got some shots in the dock, I believe. Davey, do you want to run us some totals?
Yeah, okay. So we have got Spence, fucking hell. You've been done dirty. So you've earned yourself 3 shots from this. Phil, you've earned 2 and I've earned 1. So we've all succumbed, but Spence, you were tongue-tied a little bit more than the rest of us on this round.
That's right. I'm the only one drinking currently, so what do we expect, boys? It's fair. It's fine. And plus, I think I was quite behind on the shots, wasn't I? So I think yes, penance.
I can give you the totals if you want to know them.
I mean, just big quiz next episode. It'd be a good time to say them.
All right, okay. So let me just do a bit of quick math.
+3.
So Spence got 3 to add.
1.
I got 1 to add. Phil got 2. Oh, fucking hell. This is wild. You can never call this ever. All right. So, after crunching the hard numbers here, the current standings going into episode 90 on the next episode, I've got 6 shots to take. Phil has 6 shots to take. Spencer has 6 shots to take. You could not fucking make it up. First
No
time
way.
ever. Of course, I've got 5 to give out, which I have to do in episode 90 as well. But going into it, we're all even keel. First time ever, and nobody's got double dig. So, yeah, fucking hell. Gonna be a messy old episode 90, so stay tuned for that one, listeners, in a couple of weeks. But with that, let's move it on in to the rumour.
Kick it! You wake up with a rumour and you don't want to go. You ask if it's confirmed and they still say no.
Rumour has it, guys. He strikes again. Jeff Grubb has gone on record to say a state of play event is scheduled for May. Now, I'm going to look into the magic of my little bracket here. And so far, Jeff Grubb, since I started tracking, is 1 for 1. Okay? So he said the state of play was going to happen, and it did. Now, for those who are listening, maybe this is the first time you've listened to the show and you got to this point and you think, wow, Jeff Grubb said it must be true. No. Let me fucking tell you straight off. No, I swear this guy comes out with this shit all the fucking time. And it's only that I started saying that I started tracking it. And so far, tracking is backfiring me in the fucking face. Because so far, he's bang on. But I'll pose the question to you guys. Do you feel like a state of play is around the corner and it is happening in May? Spence, over to you.
Well, I mean, Jeff Grubb said it, so
Oh, fuck.
yeah, obviously, mate.
You bitch.
Of course.
Oh, you bitch.
He was right last time. I'll tell you what, brave though, because last time he just said one is on the horizon, it's coming soon. This time he's like May. And this is where he's fucked himself. Because if it doesn't happen, and I'll tell you what, it is going to happen, I think. But if it doesn't, he's shot himself in the foot. But I do believe him. I do think it is ripe for a state of play.
What about yourself, Mr. Hoy?
Well, you're speaking to the converted because our saviour, Jeff Grubb, has come down and blessed us with knowledge. Me and Spencer have been praying to him. Please, Jeff, give us some more future knowledge. And he said, we're going to get a state of play scheduled for May. So those words have come out of his mouth, and that is what's going to happen, my son. Jeff Grubb has blessed us twice. Here's our second blessing, boys. Come May, we're getting a state of play event.
Well, I'm adding it into the doc, right? So he's just put May. So if it happens any time outside of May, even if it was the 1st of June, I'm classing it as a miss. Okay? Classing it as a miss on the doc. The annoying thing is that I think you guys are right. I think it is going to happen. May does sound about right. You know, we've got all the announcements so far have led up until the end of first quarter and into halfway through quarter 2, with Stellar Blade being the last big one now. We've had Rise of the Ronin and everything else. The rumours are, and the rumours that we believe, is that we're going to get like a new Astrobot or something towards the end of this year. We got to see about it. And whatever they show here, we can then always have a little bit more at the Summer Game Fest, which is only a few short weeks away. So it's a perfect time to strike before we get into Summer Game Fest and we get the Xbox Next Showcase and we get everything else. It's a perfect opportunity. You either go before or you go after. And I always think before is always quite nice because then we can build up and think, oh, what's going to be there? What's going to be a state of play? What are they going to show at the Summer Game Fest and all this stuff? I agree. I think it is ripe for there, but it doesn't stop me tracking it in the doc. We will wait and see. And if one does get announced at that point, I'm sure that episode 90, if it comes out, we can then start going into our prediction about what it's going to be. But I don't want to overhype us here. I don't want to over-egg the pudding at this point when hopefully Jeff Grubb's wrong. We'll wait and see. I swear to God, I'm not making up the stance that he's wrong half the time. we will see. It's not looking good for old Davey over here. But that's it, guys. Let's move it on to the listener question. There once was a show some time ago that asked 4 questions every fortnight or so. It became so rare they weren't prepared to have a versatile rhyme. Oh God, I'm scrambling now to get a word that rhymes, so how can I wrap this up? I'll take this mail and go.
What an absolute banger. And Davey, what I want to know, to start off this listener question, I've got a question for you. When does the album drop? When are we going to hear more?
It's one of those things that I want to just keep people guessing, right? And maybe when we get to episode 100, maybe then in celebration, I'll put it out there. But listeners, just let us know. If you want the album to drop, I can hit the studio. I can get going. I can make up some more jingles. And then episode 100, get the hundo out. Maybe we get a brand new refresh. Who knows? You got 10 more episodes and a lot more likes to put on these videos. So go out there, hit that sub button, go on there, put those ratings on. You know I'm always banging about ratings. Enough ratings, 30 ratings on Spotify, I'll do a fucking album. That's a low
A
thing.
whole album.
An 8-track album, yeah. 8-track.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So it's almost a mini album then.
Yeah.
You backtracked a little bit.
Well, 8 album would be like a classic size album in like the LP days. So I'll give you like an LP's worth of content for only what is like 4 more likes on Spotify, 4 more ratings.
I'll make 4
I'm fucking begging to do it.
Hey,
I want to do it.
it takes a lot of work to get those, right? We've struggled to get those. So, no, listeners, viewers, make sure you do it because I want to hear this album as well. I'm a day oneer. If this comes out, I'm on pre-order. That's how much I want to hear it. I want the special edition. What comes in the special edition?
You'll have to wait. You'll have to wait and see.
Maybe we'll tackle that at a different time. Right, let's move this on to the listener's question. And Maloon has written in. And it's a very simple question for you boys. It is, what is the next 4 games you're going to be purchasing? And that is the question. What is on your wish list that you're going to be purchasing? The next 4 games, guys. Okay, and I think we'll spice this up. We won't go for the full 4. We're going to go take 1 each. So, Spence, I'm going to start with you. You're going to name a game that's top of your list. What's the next game you're going to be buying?
Okay, well, the one that's top of my list, I don't know if it's the next game because, you know, opportunities arise. But this is definitely the one I'm most excited for. This is worded for game purchases. Does that mean it has to be a game or could DLC count?
Let me just call Maloon.
Call him up.
Hello? Maloon. Games, DLC? What are you saying? Okay. What? Tell Spencer to get fucked? Okay, fine. That's what
You would
Maloon
never,
said, guys. Maloon said, Spence, sorry. You've got to stick to games.
That's fine. I will stick to games. That's fine. But he would never say that. He's my boy, Maloon, because I'm the one who got his name. But if it was allowed, I would have said Shadow of the Erdtree. But obviously that's a given. If it's not allowed, I'll go with my first choice being a game that we've already talked about before, Crow Country. That kind of isometric PS1 style survival horror game that's supposed to be coming soon. Really excited for it. The demo was great. And I'm just waiting for it to release. And the day it does, it is going to be installed on my PS5.
Nice. Davey, you're next up. Let's rattle through these.
Yeah.
We got 4 each.
Okay, so my first one, actually, because I haven't actually bought it for your birthday yet, Spence, but I am, is Stellar Blade. It's coming out April 26th. I haven't put the money down yet. I will, and it'll be there on release date for you. But yeah, I haven't ordered that yet. So that is actually my first one to buy. It's the first on my list.
Well, you've stolen mine because Stellar Blade is mine. I've got to finish the part payment for Stellar Blade because I've bought it through Shop2 where you're able to pay on delivery. You put down a nominal fee for a little bit of a deposit. And then when it's sent out, you charge the full amount in the UK. And then, of course, I'm paying half for Spencer's. So actually, it could take the top 2, but I think that's probably cheating. So Stellar Blade is my next game purchase, which I'm going to be doing at least once and a half.
Nice. Okay, my next one. I don't think there's anything between now and then. Probably is, but I can't think of it. Sparking Zero is going to be on my list because that game, the day it comes out, Jesus Christ, yes, I'm playing that.
Ooh, I was going to ask Phil this question. I think you might need to ring up Balloon. how do we feel about games with no release dates, Phil? What does Maloon say?
I've got him on speed dial now, boys.
I hope he doesn't mind you phoning him twice.
Maloon, we're back. We're back, Maloon. What are you up to? Yeah? Put her down. Don't do that to her. Naughty boy. Keep that to yourself, son. This show is PG. Ugh. Oh, disgusting. Anyway, we got a bit of a question for you. Davey's got a question for you. Shout it out.
Maloon, how do we feel about games with no release date set for 2024?
What? You wouldn't say that to your mother. Calm down, Maloon. Put your shirt back on. He says that's fighting words.
Oh, wow. Okay. Not allowed.
So he doesn't like that. He doesn't like that. All right. I'm putting it down. God, we better not ring him again.
Because I had, I'm glad I asked, because I had a separate list, which are ones for no release date set that are due to come out this year, and Sparking Zero is on that list. So that's why I was like, yeah. Otherwise, it would all be stuff that has no release dates for this year. It'd be Tormented Souls 2, Astral Rot, Echoes of Living, Dragon Ball Z, Sparking Zero, all no release dates for 2024.
So we got to step back, haven't we? Because Spencer can't have Sparking Zero.
Nope.
If Maloon has, laid down the rules, and he has. So that's twice he said no to you, Spence.
Yeah, I've been snubbed twice. All right, well, it's not really anything else I'm keen for, so I'm just going to have to say Star Wars Outlaws, I guess. But am I going to play that this year? Probably not, because I need to play Survivor. So, I mean, I'm going to buy it, but I can't exactly say when. But I'm going to, and it comes out this year, so I hope that fits Maloon's criteria.
Well, he hasn't rung up yet, so I think that one passes.
Nice.
Davey, what are you saying?
So my next one's already come up on Spencer's list, and that is Crow Country. So coming out May 9th. Super hyped for this. I talked about it loads already. Yeah, give it to me. May 9th. It's fucking great time. Fuck knows when I'm going to play it, but I'm going to have to find time. Goddamn Final Fantasy. Might just have to mainline it. Get onto Crow Countries. Ooh, baby. What about yourself, Hoy? Mr. Hoy?
Next on my list is a little game, and it's out already. It's no surprise that I will be purchasing Alan Wake 2 at some point, because I have the disc downstairs of Alan Wake Remastered ready to be put into my PlayStation. So that is the next game I'm going to be playing, as I've just completed Stray on my PlayStation Portal. I want to get that out of the way before I dive into Alan Wake 2, because you guys rated it so high. I think it is a must for a survival horror nut like myself. And I'd like to get this done, and I'm probably not going to do this, so don't put a shot in the dock, get this done before spring, because I know there's some DLC coming out for Alan Wake 2 called Night Springs that will be out around that time. So, yeah, let's see where that one hits. But I think I'll be purchasing Alan Wake 2 next.
Nice. Okay. If we're able to do games that are already out, bless.
Of course. It's purchase games. That's what he said.
All right. Well, what's it matter if they don't have a release date then? I might just buy nothing until Sparking Zero. All right. Let's say I know at some point I'm going to buy Jedi Survivor. So that's my next game, because I am super keen for it. I just haven't had the time.
Fair, okay. Well, I've got the next game, and it is a 2024 game. Black Myth Wukong, coming out August 20th. I'm looking at the release calendar, and there's nothing around August that I'm overly keen on. I'm thinking that after I get past May, I'm pretty good. You know, I'm in this area where I don't actually want anything for a while. So it gives me enough time to be able to clear out the backlog and then start another crushingly hard, hopefully, Souls-like game in Black Myth Wukong, which I've got on my list for my fantasy critic. I'm hoping for the best. So we'll see where that goes. But that's where I'm going.
Okay, I'm going back into the past again, and I think it would be a game that if I continue down this track asking you boys what games I need to play, which I haven't, you would have come up with Dead Space once again. Now, I heard there's quite a lot of news about, obviously, the remake of Dead Space 2 and all that getting cancelled, but I want to put a sale out there for Dead Space Remake, the original, and get through that game, because I think I'll love it. So yeah, I'm really going down the survival horror kind of route here with Alan Wake 2 and then into Dead Space. If I've got enough time between new releases, those will be the games I'll be buying.
Nice. You definitely will love it as well. My next game, and I think my last game, this is way different from the list I'd written down, by the way, but because of the rule changes. But I will also be going to a game that's already out. It's a game that none of us have bought. It's me and Davey, I'm surprised we haven't bought it yet. Lies of P.
Yeah.
I've been really keen to get on it, and I just haven't had the chance. So at some point, that is 100% going to be purchased.
Yeah, great choice, man. This is one of those things that it's just time. Time's been against us, and it's like picking between, like, you know when you walk into Greg's and you got all the options there, you know each one's going to be a banger, and then you pick, you eat it, and you think, oh, maybe I should have got that steak bake. You know, maybe I should have. And you could be a gutsy bastard and just gone for both and eaten both. But you gotta, you know, at my age, I gotta think of my gut, and I can't be sitting there eating a bacon turnover and a steak bake at the same time. You know, next thing you know, I'll be a fucking diabetic. So I can't be doing it. And that's the problem, unfortunately, my friend. Lies a piece forward into that drama. But I'm telling you what, a game that will clear whatever is going on, like a caloric irrigation, Warhammer 40k coming out in Q3 2024, Space Marine 2 coming out the end of this year. That is my last game I'm picking. I've got to keep the release dates, and I'm thinking ahead. Space Marine 2, baby. That is going to be it, Q3 2024. Hopefully, I'm done with Black Myth Wukong, straight into some fucking Space Marine action. Can't fucking wait. Phil, you joining me on this?
You bastard. You knew I was going to pick that. And I've got a release date for you. I'm looking at this website and it's saying September 9th. That's when that's coming out. We've got a confirmed release date, so this website is saying. And yes, of course, Space Marine 2, Warhammer 40,000. Literally cannot wait for this game. I've been waiting for this game since the original Space Marine back on PlayStation 3. And this one looks absolutely epic. And there's some co-op options, as we've talked about in the past. So yes, cannot wait to fight for the Emperor alongside you. Or you alongside me, depending on who's going to take the brunt of the Tyranid forces. And I think that's everything, right? That's 4 games for us. So one more time, just for Maloon, let's reel them off and let's close this out.
Oh, I forgot what I said. Crow Country, Star Wars Outlaws, Star Wars Survivor. Bloody, I got 2 Star Wars on my list. That's crazy. And Lies of P. Those are my 4 purchases at some point. Can't promise they're my next ones, but those are the ones on my mind.
Okay, my 4 are Stellar Blade, Crow Country, Black Myth Wukong, and Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2.
And mine for Maloon is going to be Stellar Blade, Alan Wake 2, a Dead Space remake, and then, of course, Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2. I hope that answers your question, Maloon, and thank you very much for writing in once again. And now, boys, let's move it on to the end of the show with our topic as we revisit the bracket that we left pretty much a month ago.
Stop! Topic time!
That is right, ladies, gentlemen, lads. We have made it to the topic, the final thing we will be discussing. Now, listeners, as you will remember, last month we started this bracket. It's Sony's bracket of their games, and we thought it was good, but we wanted to do it ourselves, our opinions, with slightly different seeding. And after the first round, these are the games that we have left. So round 1, we have Horizon Zero Dawn, first God of War Ragnarok, into God of War 2018 to Miles Morales, into Last of Us Part 2, Death Stranding, and then Last of Us Part 1, Returnal. So lads, let's get started on the first one. Horizon Zero Dawn versus God of War Ragnarok. Who wants to open?
Fucking hell. I tell you, Jesus Christ. Have you ever seen somebody get so battered in real life that you look away? This is going to be one of those times,
like,
man,
ooh,
where you're just like,
ooh.
yeah, you're like, oh, fuck. You watch it first, and the build-up's there, and you see the first swing, and someone goes down hard, like they hit the fucking concrete on the first hit, and you think, no, this is he's gonna die, bro. Get off him. He's gonna fucking die. And the face is just mush. It's paste, bro. Unfortunately, Horizon Zero Dawn, I love you, and it got really far here. Like, much further than it did in the Sony bracket, but you're facing fucking God of War Ragnarok, kid. No fucking hope, mate. No hope. Phil, I mean, I know you love Zero Dawn as much as I do. Are you backing me on this?
It's very difficult to argue against you on this one because God of War Ragnarok is a far superior game. But one thing I will say for Horizon Zero Dawn, this was kind of It was a success at the time because, Guerrilla venturing out with this new IP, and there was lots of very rewarding and very interesting dynamics to this game. They took a big risk on creating something like this, and by God, they pulled it off. And it's a series that I absolutely love. I probably love the IP better than the God of War series, but God of War objectively is a far better game to be playing. So yes, my vote will go for God of War Ragnarok.
Nice. Well, that's 2 votes for God of War, and I'm just going to make it 3, boys. Let's be honest. It's the best game on the PS5. What are we saying? Come on. God of War Ragnarok sweeps that round. Nice and easy. Up next. Ooh, that round's going to suck. Up next, we have God of War 2018 versus Spider-Man Miles Morales. Now, I know my thoughts on this. I'll tell you what, I'll start. For me, it's Miles Morales. I had a lot more fun with Miles Morales than I did with God of War. And for me, God of War 2018, I didn't like it anywhere near as much as Ragnarok, and it just dragged on for me. Whereas Miles is short, sweet, and just a really good experience. So my vote, I'm giving it 1 to Miles. You boys, more than happy if you to disagree with me, but I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Fuck, this one's hard, This one's fucking hard. Phil, feel free to jump in, bro. I might need some fucking thinking time with this one.
Well, I think I might have to make up your mind for you if I go before you. Not to foreshadow where my vote will go, but I think it's pretty obvious that I would vote for Miles Morales in this situation, purely because I didn't get on with God of War. I've never really enjoyed the series up until Ragnarok. And yes, that is a beautiful game. It is a game of the year. It is one of the best games on PlayStation 5. And inevitably, just to foreshadow it, it won the Sony one and it'll probably win ours, right? But okay, it might be close at the end because I know we're fans of some of the other series, but it's going to have a strong showing here. But God of War 18, I remember buying it sort of late on and then sort of stop-start in the game, never really gelling with it. I didn't get anywhere close to the Platinum Trophy with it, but I did play it to fruition with God of War 18. But Miles Morales, I did get the Platinum, and that music, man, it's life-changing. Honestly, life-changing. And it made me love a new version of Spider-Man. It really did. And opened me up into a whole new world of Spider-Men. Because I never knew anything about Miles Morales pre-playing that game. And yeah, I'm a fan. I'm a big, big fan. So my vote would go Miles Morales.
Oh, I know it doesn't matter what I think now. God of War 2018 is so impactful. Like, when you talk about changes to, games like the games that can't be mentioned and how they take it in different directions, God of War 2018 totally re-envisioned what the God of War franchise could be. It brought Kratos down to somebody that you can actually sympathize with and you can find an emotional attachment to. And seeing the story him and Atreus go on and seeing their bond grow as the game goes on is immense. The fight with Boulder at the beginning, the fight with Boulder at the end. So good. So good. Like Mamiya, the fucking world serpent in the fucking... So good.
But
they're all good games.
But Miles is just a feeling and a place. And putting that on the PS5 and feeling the haptics, the music pumping in my headset, the snow falling down is just sitting outside that mall on that lamppost. Not feeling like it. Miles. Clean sweep, boys. Clean sweep.
Sony didn't see this one coming.
all right, well, clean sweep for Miles Morales. Moving on, we have The Last of Us Part 2 versus Death Stranding. Now, I know my thoughts on this. I'm sure I know Phil's. I'd love to hear Davey's. So, what I'll do first, Phil, I'd love for you to open this.
I think this is going to be my biggest challenge, purely because I love both of these games immensely. And if someone was going to ask me for a top 10, maybe even a top 5, I think both of these games would feature. Now, Death Stranding obviously is where my vote is going to go because I think it changed my life in gaming terms. It made me look at video games in a completely different way. And the idea of Death Stranding, the story, it invention of this genre by Hideo Kojima, it's just mind-blowing to even consider. And I'm surrounded by Death Stranding kind of paraphernalia that I've purchased over the time. I went back and purchased the collector's edition. I actually had to go all the way. Well, I was on holiday in the United States, and I managed to track down a version. So I have the big case and the baby, and I've got the PlayStation 4 Pro with the handprints on. I've got books and everything else that you could think Death Stranding, because I am that much of a fan of Death Stranding, and I would say it is my favorite game of all time. So it'd be very difficult for me to say The Last of Us would win this, but shout out The Last of Us Part 2. That is my favorite The Last of Us. I think it's better than the original. I know a lot of people have got a lot of grumbles when it comes to that game, but it shines. It really, really does. And this is very hard. You know, Death Stranding's a 10. Last of Us Part 2 for me is like a 9. It's like a 9.9. It's really, really close. I love it. I love both these games. It's like having two children, but one is probably going to do slightly better in school, isn't he? So Death Stranding. I'm going to go Death Stranding.
I mean, all on board until that analogy at the end. But fair enough, mate. Fair enough. I'll go next. For me, I've only played a few hours of Death Stranding, but I adored it. So I just need to give it that time. But let's be honest. Last of Us is my favorite franchise of all time. My vote easily goes Last of Us Part 2. And I agree with you. I think it's better than Part 1. But it just runs a little bit too long. That is all I can say on it. I think it's a near perfect game. If not, is just a perfect game. I adore it. So it gets my vote immediately. Davey, you're on the hot seat.
Fuck me. Why do I have to be the decider on this one? Right. I'll put it out there. I'm not as fanatical about Death Stranding as Phil is, but I adored the game. And at the time of its release, I remember feeling like as if we hadn't started the podcast at that point. And I remember feeling like I was shouting into a void because everyone was saying how fucking boring it was. And I was just thinking, how can you not see how fucking genius this game is? Like, it's so well done. The story's amazing. How unique it is. It's just incredible. And there's beauty in the moments of silence as you are just trying to figure your way up a hill or to come down a hill or whatever it is. And then when those musical cues hit, there's not really many feelings like it. It's so good. There are issues with it. Combat isn't very good. Combat with anything isn't very good at all. And sure, that's not really the point of the game, but it is a major pointer of it. You can only throw bottles of piss at things for so long before you start to see that there's an issue here. But it's a small component. The overall experience of Death Stranding is absolutely phenomenal. And if it was up against anything else on this list, it would have a really fucking good chance of beating it. Unfortunately, it's up against The Last of Us Part 2. And The Last of Us Part 2, I said at the time, is the best game on PlayStation 4. Hands down. Hands down. It's one of the best games I've ever experienced in my life. It's the game that I've had the biggest emotional attachment to out of any game ever. I've never cried so much as I have during my experience with The Last of Us Part 2. From the moment that game opens and you have the scene where Joel is in the garage talking to Tommy, I cried there. I cried when the horse came over the fucking ridge. The moments with the Rat King, like there's so many just fucking awesome moments in that game. And sure, it might outstay its welcome, but it's the best gameplay Naughty Dog have ever done. And for me, it's their best story they've ever told. It's one of the best games ever made. It's The Last of Us Part 2 for me.
Nice. Good.
Hurts me to do it. Hurts me to do it.
There we are. So speaking of Last of Us, we now have its predecessor, Last of Us Part 1, versus Davey's little PS5 baby, Returnal. Phil, over to you first with this one.
I think this one's a pretty easy one for me. Obviously, The Last of Us was a very good game. I've not played Part 1, obviously. I played the PS4 remaster of The Last of Us and thoroughly enjoyed it. And it did lead me into probably one of the best gaming experiences of my life with The Last of Us Part 2. So it's got a lot to sort of answer for Part 1. And I think it is a game that, again, I would put down in the history of Phil Hoy. You know, it would be up there. It would be a game I would talk about years to come and think about from years to come. But when we come over to Returnal, it just didn't gel with me. Like, I know you guys have sort of waxed lyrical episode after episode about how great Returnal is because it gelled with you. It's the type of gameplay, it's the type of genre you guys, you know, enjoy, but it just didn't work for me. Visuals are on a whole different level. If we were judging it just on visuals, obviously Returnal would kill here. But my vote here, purely for the gameplay experience and gameplay is king, Last of Us Part 1, there's the winner for you.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that one, mate. Not surprised at all. Davey, mate, over to you. What are your thoughts?
The Last of Us Part 1, or The Last of Us, is the best game on the PlayStation 3, and it's a fantastic game. The issue is number 2 exists, and number 2 does its gameplay much better than the first one. And I would argue it has a better story than the first one, even though a lot of people would say it doesn't. It's not as tight, but it offers more emotional depth than the first one does, and the first one goes very fucking hard. Returnal is probably the best gameplay experience on the PlayStation 5. I think it probably is. Like, God of War Ragnarok is like insane gameplay, like say a 9 out of 10 gameplay, and then like a 9 or a 10 out of 10 story, right? It nails both. Returnal, no story at all. Fucking throw that out the window. Shit. But in terms of gameplay, it's a fucking straight 11 out of 10. It's so fucking good. And it just gets better the more you play it, as soon as you learn extra tech and as soon as you do extra things. They've added in new modes. I think it's probably the best game Housemarque have ever made. And they've made so many fucking good games. I know my vote isn't going to matter here, but I feel like I'll be doing Returnal dirty if I don't give it a vote. And every time I scroll Twitter and I see somebody that's not played Returnal before and they've thought, yeah, I'm going to go back and check it out. And they always show the video footage of the fucking organ boss. And that is one of the most special moments I've ever had on my PlayStation 5. Even this many years on. Such a great boss fight. And the music of like entire areas just plays in my head. I love Returnal. I love it so fucking much. I'm going to give it a vote.
Tell you what, I know you love Returnal, but I didn't think you'd vote for it. So fair enough. Respect, bro. The issue is I adore both these games. I could give Returnal so much praise because, like you said, it is probably the best gameplay experience on the PS5 and one of the best I've ever experienced in my life. But it's competing against Last of Us Part 1, which I've literally just beaten for like the 14th time. I adore it. It's my favorite game. It's going to get my vote. It has to. If I didn't, I'd be lying to myself and to you guys. So Last of Us Part 1 moves on, unfortunately.
I was safe going for the Returnal knowing that you'd go Last of Us. And I felt like I had to give it some props.
We knew what was going to happen. But moving on to the next round of the bracket, we have God of War Ragnarok versus Spider-Man Miles Morales. Now, I know we were chatting about Miles is actually a really sick game. How in-depth do we need to go here, boys?
I think we all know who's going to win this one. And this is difficult, isn't it? It's wild that we have this beautiful array of top titles here, and we're almost coming across quite sad and somber in the way we're describing this because we don't want to lose a friend, a family member. It's as if they're, passing away or moving on, or we're losing them in some way. I'm still in tears after losing Death Stranding. Davey's, like mourning Returnal here. And we're going to have to do the same to Miles because God of War Ragnarok is a better game. It's a fuller game. It's a much better experience. So my vote, God of War.
It's a fucking clean sweep, boys.
Yeah.
Miles doesn't stand a chance. It's an 8 out of 10 compared to a 10. It's that.
Yeah,
this
that
one,
one clicking over. This one's mad.
Oh, fuck me.
I know what my vote is immediately. So I'll let Davey, you can start this time because I feel like you haven't been starting much.
So we've got The Last of Us Part 2 versus The Last of Us Part 1. Now, if Potato Chief was here, he'd be saying Part 1 100%, fuck Part 2. But fortunately, he's not here, and it's me. I am going to go Part 2. And the reason why I'm going Part 2 is because it is learned from everything from The Last of Us 1, and in my eyes, improved it. The gameplay is much improved. You can actually lie down. You've got so many more combat options. Dogs are fucking terrifying in that game. And I think even though 1 has probably got... One's tricky because it's just like a perfect story. There's not... I can't sit here and say like, oh, 1 would be perfect if... or anything like that. The only reason that gets 1 down below 2 is because 2 exists and it improved the gameplay. That's it. If Part 1, with the remake, if they'd gone back and added in Part 2's combat options, Part 1, I reckon, would slap the tits out of it. It would absolutely slap the tits out of it. But because they didn't do that, Part 2 is an improvement in my eyes. And for most of it, you are playing. You know, you're not just watching and experiencing the story, and the story's on par with it. So it's got to be Part 2 for me.
Yeah, that's fair enough, mate. Fair enough. So that's 1 vote for Part 2. Phil, over to you. What is your choice?
I'm sorry to say, Spencer, because I think you may vote for Part 1. I'm going to back Davey up on this one, because Part 2 was a big step forward in sort of every respect in my mind. Maybe outside story, as Davey said, it was roughly on par, maybe a little bit lacking compared to the original. But I remember so much more of Part 2. Maybe it's because I played it much more recently than Part 1, but it stuck with me. And like, I remember like it was yesterday with the context sensitive combat. I just thought it was real. You know, when you're Ellie and you're just like moving through like a store and you've got people hunting you down and the sweat literally is dripping off your neck and you're feeling every moment. I love those type of games where you get that very visceral kind of reaction to a game and you put yourself in that spot, and Last of Us Part 2 definitely did. You know, this is the game, like Davey said, I cried at multiple times, and you know, even the times where it's joyous, I was shedding a tear. When you're sat in the Science Museum is the one that always really sticks with me, when they're sat in the top of the rocket and they're looking up at the top of the rocket or the stars, and it was just an out of body experience. It's very weird to describe this game like that, but it spoke to me on so many levels. So yes, The Last of Us 2 is going to get my vote.
Fair enough. I'll tell you what, I completely agree with both of you. As much as I adore Part 1 and it is my favourite game, Last of Us 2 is a better game. It's just not my favourite. I mean, Part 1, obviously I've just finished it again. I still don't skip any cutscenes because the story gets me every damn time. I love it and I adore it. I've still only beaten Part 2 once on release. I've not gone back to it. And it's because I keep telling myself it's such a great game that I want to savour it when I really, really want to get back to it. And I want to do it now. Already, I'm straight off Last of Us 1 and I want to get back to Part 2. It's a perfect game. And those people that are on about the story, they know one thing about the story and just hate the game because of it. It's brilliant in every single aspect, Part 2. And nothing else has made me feel the same way. So yeah, it's a clean sweep 3-0 for Part 2. Which means we have our grand finals. I don't know if anyone could have guessed it, but it's God of War Ragnarok. It's Last of Us Part 2. Shit. Okay, so who wants to start? Because I don't.
I think I can make it easy.
Go on, Phil.
I know what mine
Okay.
would be. Mine is The Last of Us Part 2. If I'm having to choose, which I'm going to, I would rather play that game again than play Ragnarok. If I was sat there and I had my, allocated time to play video games, I was allowed that down on the PlayStation late at night to play one of these games through once again, and there was nothing else as an option, I would definitely go for The Last of Us Part 2. For a lot of the reasons that I went over earlier, for for pushing it through some previous rounds. It is an absolutely spectacular game, and I love the series. I think that speaks to me a lot more than the God of War. I haven't got that affinity, as I keep referring to God of War, because maybe I didn't grow up with it in the same way Davey did with, you know, the originals on the previous PlayStations. But The Last of Us, I've played both of the games and loved every experience. So Last of Us Part 2 is my winner. And yeah, I gotta sit back now and watch the chaos.
Davey, mate, do you think you're ready to talk yet?
I think so. I think I am. Yeah, I think I
Okay.
am. Fuck, this is so hard. So it's really difficult because whenever I think of Last of Us 2, it's always those little moments, right? Just of little moments of wonder that you have in its gameplay. So, like, I always think about there's a moment where you're getting hunted by, you know, that clan who always wear like coats or whatever, and I can't remember what they're called now, but you're in like a car park. And the slope's going up, and there's like a broken, I remember it so fucking vividly. There's like a broken bit of concrete, and it's just a car that's like perfectly positioned there. And I was ducking down behind it, and a guy was like, what's that? And there's a guy coming above down this way, and a guy here. And I was like, I don't want to fucking get into a fight here. I don't have much ammo. I don't really want to get into a fight here. If I could just sneak through, it's going to be class. And then I got past the first one, and got seen by the guy up here, and it all hell broke loose, bro. And it's like Molotov cocktails everywhere, fucking bow and arrows out, and it was nuts. And I managed to escape it, and I was like, oh, fucking hell, that was so intense. Like, oh my God. And then it goes from that and barrels into like a big story moment, which then you get, instead of that intensity, you get just this moment of either pure rage or pure like fucking sadness. And it just like froze you between all these emotions all the way. God of War Ragnarok, what that does is it slow builds. It slow builds for so long. And you're like, okay, you're along for the ride, you're entertained, you're going for it, you're learning more, you're like really appreciating it, you're learning more about its combat, you're getting better, you're just improving on every single level. And then the story just goes like, peaks a bit, and you think, fuck me, that was amazing, that was one of the best moments I've ever seen in my life. And then it just goes, oh, fuck that, nah, we're just going now. And it just like rises to like this point where it's just fucking insane. And I don't want to go into spoilers, so I'll keep this vague, but when you go in, you blow the horn, like my entire body was goosebumped all over. And I'm getting goosebumps now thinking about it. And I was like, this is one of the best game moments I've ever had in my life. I was just so in for it. And you go into what is then the final part of the game, and it's like you're fucking watching an MCU movie. There's shit everywhere going on, and you've mastered everything by that point. And you're just fucking laying waste to shit. So fucking good. And then by the time you've actually done all that, and you're going off and doing the side quest content, and you're fighting all the different kings, and you're fighting bosses, which in other games would be like world-ending bosses, like the main thing to show. But it's like, oh no, this is just a side quest guy. It's just around the corner. It's just that it's a fucking insane boss fight, and you've got 20 of these to go. So, you know, get good. So fucking good. So fucking good. I think I would be torn on this a lot more if I hadn't played Valhalla recently. Playing Valhalla and learning how fucking good that combat is again, where it just came back to me and I was like, why did I ever put this game down? Like, playing through that extra bit and seeing what happens with Tyr and all that, I could wait for Last of Us Part 3. I can't wait for the next God of War.
Wow.
It's simple as that. I can't wait for the next God of War. Whatever they do, whenever they show Kratos next, I'm going to pop off. Last of Us 3, I could wait. I'm not itching for it. Ragnarok, to me, second favorite game I've ever played in my life. It has to win for me. Has to.
Wow.
Does everything perfect.
Now it's on to me. Fuck's sake. Right, well, God of War Ragnarok is the best game on the PS5. And Last of Us Part 2 is the best game on the PS4. The issue is they brought it over to the PS5. Is it now the best game on PS5? The issue is none of us have played this version of it. And granted, we have just dipped back into Valhalla and we've remembered the combat. The combat in Last of Us Part 2 is so sick. It's so good. That scene that you were on about, Davey, with the tunnels, you can lie down underneath the cars and you can like shoot their feet to make them look down and then shoot them in the head. It's so sick. Oh, I adore Ragnarok and I can't wait to play it again. But for me, Last of Us wins. It's a perfect experience. They're both perfect experiences, but they're just different. And my preference is for Last of Us Part 2. So for me, Last of Us wins.
It's like Phil said earlier, the analogy of picking between your favourite children. That's what this entire bracket has been, isn't it? It's like we got 8 kids or whatever, and you've just got to pick the best one. And it is such a hard task. Such a hard task. I mean, what a final though. There's nothing in there that I think, that doesn't deserve to be there. Like, those 2 games are incredible experiences. And sure, we've lost some real contenders along the way, but I'm more than happy with that outcome. More than happy with it.
And me. I'd have been more than happy if it was the other way around as well. Honestly, I'd have been happy too.
Equally. Yeah, equally.
Yeah.
Equally as happy. But I am quite chuffed Last of Us one because, I like Last of Us more. But yeah, that is it for our bracket. Davey, do you want to wrap up the show?
And so the sun sets on another bracket. We did it for IGN. We done it for Sony. Who will be next? We'll have to wait to see whatever bullshit comes up on Twitter where we feel we can do it better. Did we do it better? Audience, you let us know. Write into the email pswetrust@gmail.com or hit us up on the socials. They were all in the description of the show, or just go on to @InPSWeTrust. We're right there. Thank you for listening up to this point. Really, really appreciate each and every single one of you. We've noticed a massive uptick in our audio listens compared to everything else. So I want to say all those that listen to audio only, if be that on Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to your podcasts, thank you ever so much for the support. It really, really helps us find a larger audience. And the thing about it is now that I'll be looking at the number of ratings we have. And if I don't see those start fucking rising, someone is getting stomped. The same way that Miles just got stomped by fucking Kratos, that clean 3-0. Like, bro, you ain't seen nothing. Your mum won't be able to recognize you because you will be stomped into oblivion. You will just be paste. In fact, you'll just be atoms floating in the air. And everyone will be like breathing in normal air, but they're actually breathing in parts of you because that's how small we've made you. If you don't want that to happen, then make sure to please put a rating on. Really helps the show. Thank you ever so much. And of course, if you're watching on YouTube, then hello. We appreciate each and every one of you that does subscribe to the channel. We're slowly growing in that metric. And we're hoping to end the year at 250. So go on. If you're enjoying it, you get to see all the episodes broken out into smaller parts as well if you want to digest it on the go. And you get to see our pretty little mugs while you're at it. What more can you ask for? But that has been episode 89 of In PS We Trust, a PlayStation podcast. Thank you ever so much for listening up to this point. I've been Davey.
I've been Phil.
And I've been Spencer.
Take care, guys.
Don't over-egg the pudding. Peace!
In PS We Trust is hosted by Davey, Phil, and Spencer. You can write into the show via our email, pswetrust@gmail.com. Our Twitter is @InPSWeTrust. To find each of us online, follow our Twitters, @SSJDavey, @PhilipHoy, @SpenPie_. Thank you for listening. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. See ya.